episode of your favorite swimbait podcast, episode 190. And the gentleman we have on today probably does not need an introduction, this being his fifth episode on the podcast. I know I said this last time because I remember thinking about it earlier today when we got around to scheduling this. This guy has been on the second most amount of times, right behind Marshall. I don't know how many times Marshall's been on, but I know it's been more, over five. But Alec Wieker has been on officially. This is his fifth time on the podcast. Episode 8, episode 30, episode 84, and episode 154. Episode 154 aired last July, I think it was, like July 10th. So right around a year. You guys will be listening to this on the 23rd of June. So, a couple days off of a year exactly. And like Alec joked earlier when we were talking, he's like, I got to do my yearly check-in. And a yearly check-in it is. He's been up to a whole ton of very, very cool stuff. If you guys don't follow him, I highly encourage it. Dude catches big fish and a lot of big fish. But Alec, we'll keep the introduction short. Kind of tell us who you are, where you're at now, and what do you do, and then we'll get with the icebreakers, and then we'll do the whole what's that the is it Snapchat or like Spotify that does the Spotify the year end recap? We'll do the year end recap of what you've been up to for
hmm
the last year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm Alec Wieker. I am originally from Minnesota, but my career choice has unfortunately kind of brought me all over the states. I was in Iowa for a while, then
Oh,
Missouri for a while, then Arizona for a while, and I actually just moved to Cleveland, Ohio. So I just moved in literally yesterday. So I am. I was unpacking all day yesterday, unpacking today, and yeah. So I fish a lot, like way too much. Like it's absolutely my number one priority, unfortunately. And but probably what eight, 9 years ago now, man. It's been a long time. I've been swim baiting almost exclusively. Like if absolutely can't find a swim bait bite, I'll conventional fish, but I swim bait as much as I possibly can and fish as much as I possibly can.
heck yeah, dude. Before we get too deep into the episode, I want to, since this is airing on Monday, if they're still on the site, I'm going to be uploading some hats on the page. The Crazy Eye logo, the dark green, forest green with the white rope, and then the Loden green with the black rope. Crazy Eye hats. You guys wanted them, so I just had to, my mom just handed them to me, so felt like the need to plug that because sometimes people don't see it otherwise. But all right, Alec, you've been on five times. This being the first time we've done an
Yes,
icebreaker.
sir.
I know we probably don't need to do an icebreaker, but I do want to hear your answers to the question. So obviously everybody's favorite, the one that we
hmm
all know. We're getting ready to go fish. We're gonna go fish in the armpit of Ohio, Cleveland tomorrow. What we're going to explore your new area of Ohio. What I guess since you've only been there for like 48 hours, you might not have a great answer, but I guess maybe you can relate it back to like Minnesota or Arizona. If we're going fishing tomorrow, where are we
Yeah,
stopping for like our pregame snacks, pregame, drinks? Where are we stopping and what are we getting while we're there?
yeah, for sure. So that's actually like Ohio. I don't have an answer for you
Yeah.
yet.
Yep.
Minnesota though is what I'm probably the most comfortable with, and I can answer that without even thinking. Quick, you got to go to Quick Trip.
Quick Trip Donuts.
And there's a lot of Quick Trips out there, but the Quick Trip, not like Quick Stop or not Quick Trip with the Q, right? Quick Trip with the KWIK.
AWIK.
Um, yes, that's the Quick Trip. If you're from like Minnesota, Wisconsin, you know,
Hmm.
but Quick Trip, best gas station, and then nothing's even close. But I am getting, if I haven't already had a Celsius at this point,
Mm.
I'll be getting one, and then I will also be getting probably one or two Fairlifes,
Mm.
um, and then I probably brought a couple of protein bars from home, but protein bars, and then I always get like a trail mix as well to bring on the boat, and then maybe some corn nuts if I'm feeling like
Ooh.
I can have a little bit of a cheat day. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty much like a trail mix, Fairlife,
Mm.
Celsius kind of guy, and I'll every once in a while I'll get a couple liquid deaths as well.
Mm.
I don't know if you had those, but those are, I mean, seriously spectacular.
Mm.
Like 20 calories, there's
Yeah.
no BS in them, just like fruit juice, sparkling water, delicious. So
Mm.
I'd say that's pretty. I would get that every single fishing trip. So
I've been hooked. The Patreon guys know that I have been hooked on sparkling water lately, and I've never tried the Liquid Death. I've seen
Um,
them, but maybe I'll try one
now
tomorrow
you
when I
got
go grocery shopping. Yeah,
you
I'll
got it,
try
bro.
one.
Okay,
Yeah,
so if you're into it, the melon one is my
melon.
favorite.
All right, let me write this
It's like
down.
watermelon.
I'm in like
It's
high
like
school taking
watermelon
notes
and
right now.
it's like watermelon and paprika. Sounds weird, delicious, right? And so that's really good. And then depending on who you are, you might like the lime better, but the
No.
severed lime, and I think it's like convicted melon or something like that. I don't know. The names are kind of dumb, but the melon one and the lime one, you get one of each of those, and you gotta tell me because those things are delicious.
Okay, okay. I'll do that. I want to put people on because you said Quick Trip in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We don't have any here in Michigan. There might be a couple in the UP. And so back in the day, my parents used to do stuff for like the Quick Trip company. And
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah. I'll explain it to you later, but it's a long story. But anyway, Quick Trip, if you guys do not know, they do fresh donuts every day. And the determining
Yep.
factor on where they can build a Quick Trip is how close the Quick Trip bakeries are to it. So if they can't get the fresh donuts there within like 2 hours of being baked, then there can't be a Quick Trip there. So that's why there hasn't been a bakery built far enough into Wisconsin to have any in Michigan or like in the Illinois area. So there's your guys' little Quick Trip fun fact. If you guys are not familiar, Quick Trip donuts are heavenly. I guarantee they're probably the one of the worst things you can have from that gas station, but man, their glazers are dang good. Let me tell you what, and they smell divine. If you go in there right after the delivery truck just left, oh my gosh, you get high blood sugar just going in there and smelling it, I swear.
Mm.
Picture this: the sun rising over the mountains, your line gets tight, and the fight of a lifetime begins. Welcome to Lake Bacharach Lodge, Mexico's premier largemouth bass fishing lodge. Nestled in the heart of the Sierra Madre Mountains, Lake Bacharach Lodge offers world-class fishing, luxury accommodations, first-class hospitality, and expert guides who know where the grandes live. Whether you're chasing giants or kicking back after a day on the water with a frosty, cold, bottomless margarita, we've got you covered. Home to some of the biggest bass in the world, Lake Bacharach is truly an angler's paradise. Don't miss your shot at the bass of a lifetime. Book your trip now at www.lakebacharachlodge.com or call 806-316-8382 today. Lake Bacharach Lodge, truly the best in bass. If you're listening to this podcast, it's safe to assume you're tossing big baits for trophy bass. You already know that treble hook changes are part of the game, but they don't always have to be a pain in the butt to do. Toit split ring pliers are hands down the easiest way to swap out treble hooks, especially on those beefy swim baits we all love. No more slipping, no more fighting your gear, just smooth, secure hook changes every time. Available in 3 fixed sizes in a full kit with interchangeable jaws that safely open up any size split ring. Toyota doesn't stop there. They offer a full lineup of precision tools designed with anglers in mind, including long and short nose pliers, scissors that cut cleanly on limp braid, and wire forming tools perfect for rigging those soft baits. So up your game with Toy, because when you're chasing giants, every detail matters. Check them out at toyfishing.com and be sure to use code SNT15 for 15% off your order. Again, that's toyfishing.com, TOIT fishing.com. And again, SNT15 for 15% off your order.
Yeah,
And
no, Quick Trip is like everyone
mm,
I know from Minnesota and Wisconsin. You swear by Quick Trip because
yep.
it's a completely undefeated gas station.
Mhm.
Like they're always like spotless, like
Yeah.
perfect for a gas station. Like I've been in some absolutely gnarly gas stations on fishing trips. Quick Trip, you can depend on them every single
Mhm.
time. They actually have like decent selections of everything.
Yeah.
Good ass coffee, the best donuts outside of Krispy Kreme. Like I don't know, man. They're Quick Trip is they got it dialed.
Dude, one thing I'll put you on if you're gonna like two things actually. If you're gonna like make your food, but like if you want like a little bit of like an actual meal out on the water, dude, you get a pack of cheese like some nice cheese, like whether it's like I mean any sliced cheese that's good, like just some real high quality sliced cheese and get yourself like some nice hard salami, make a couple cheese witches. Oh, dude, instead of bread you use the cheese. Oh man. I think maybe I feel like I've talked about it on the podcast before, but dude, there is nothing better than that. Or lately I've been getting cucumbers, putting them in the fridge, dicing them up, mixing it with like tuna, mustard, light Greek yogurt, and like mixing it all up, dude. Putting a little bit of like Japanese barbecue sauce in it, and putting it in like a lunch cooler when I go out and fish. Dude, there is
Damn.
nothing like a pick me up like that on the lake. Like when it's like 80 degrees out and you pull out this like tuna salad combobulation. Oh, dude, it's undefeated. Undefeated. It's so good.
Well, and look at you go, Adrian. You're substituting Greek yogurt for stuff, bro.
Dude,
That's
yeah, I
hell
know.
yeah. Let's go.
It's
That's what I've been doing.
yeah,
Instead of every time we use like sour cream
mhm.
or like whatever, I mean mayo or
Mayo, yeah.
whatever, we'll substitute Greek yogurt. And honestly, man,
You can't tell
it gets
difference.
the job done.
Yeah,
Like
you
you
can't.
really can, especially sour cream. There is
Yeah.
no difference in Greek yogurt and
No,
sour cream.
not at
Like
all.
there's no difference.
No, if you guys like are like I could eat sour cream out of a tub, then get some Greek yogurt and it'll be it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Or dude, a little bit of Greek yogurt with some honey before bed, like that's like sometimes my sweet treat before bed.
Hmm.
That is also unmatched. Like some raw like it's gonna sound weird, but like the raw honey you leave in your cabinet for like a week or two so it like starts to crystallize just a little bit. Oh, dude, that is,
That's
oh
good.
my gosh, that's so good. But anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would bring too, if you guys were wondering. Second question, Alec. Being a big muskie fiend, if you guys are not familiar, Alec is a muskie wrestler. That
Hmm.
what bait, if you could like go out and catch muskie on a bait, whether it's a bait you've caught them on before or maybe a brand new bait that somebody dropped that you want to try to catch a muskie on, what's like your dream bait to catch, like we'll say 48 to like 53-inch muskie, like what bait is your dream bait to try to catch a fish on with it, I should say.
My dream bait, meaning like a bait that I have not caught one on that
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
really
like
like to,
if you could have a
or
badass
just like
picture
if I
with a
was gonna
big
have to.
muskie, like what bait are you gonna pick to be in its mouth?
Man, that's tough. I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, man, like I a lot of the time, like my self control isn't phenomenal. So if I have a bait that I like really want to put in a muskie's mouth, unfortunately, I've like
You can just do it.
I'll try so hard to make it happen, bro. Like um I mean that's tough because I don't really have one that I haven't caught on, if
Right.
I'm being honest with you. Like I would say like something like a frenzy.
Mm,
Um but to be fair, my biggest on a frenzy is like 40, I think 43, I think she went. Or 44 maybe.
hmm.
So it wasn't a huge fish, like a good fish for sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't huge. Or like I don't know, just there's some like I'll answer it this way. So I'd say giant ass glides,
Mm.
like I have a fish on a frenzy and I have a fish on a KGB pounder, and those are
Dude, the pounder,
abs.
crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, I know, bro. I almost cried when I caught that fish because it was like the sickest eat ever too. I was like shaking. I was texting Brendan Banks. He's like second in command at KGB right now, and I was texting Brendan. I was like, bro, I'm gonna cry. Like it was sweet, but it's like the KGB pounder or like the DRT frenzy,
Mm.
um, giant ass glides, like
Yeah.
monster glides, and I'm watching fish and that frenzy fish actually ate at the boat too.
Mm.
So that was pretty incredible. But so those like giant ass glides are like that, or um, another one of my favorite eats is any topwater eat,
Yeah.
bro. Where like I'm sure you've seen them on YouTube where
Mhm.
a muskie's like tracking a
Yeah.
topwater and they're like dorsal fins out of the water and their tail fins out of the water and they're just slowly tracking it
Mhm.
like that. That is any eat on any topwater where they're following it like that for a little while and then they throttle it. That's spectacular. Like I
Yeah.
don't care who you are, that is magical. And then and then I'd say the other big eat for me that I really love, like other than giant glides and topwater, is any figure eight fish.
Mm.
There's something like spectacular about a figure eight fish. I'm kind of partial to bucktail figure eights just because like bucktail figure eights just feel good. Like you
Right.
get a fish to eat on a bucktail figure eight that just feels right. Like there's just something about specifically a bucktail and an eight that's really awesome. Um, but really any figure eight fish feels great. So I don't super have an answer for that one. Not a good answer. I just say like giant glides, top water, figure eight fish. Like those, if I can get bit in one of those three ways, I'm going to be on the moon every single time.
Yeah. Before I forget, that place, that waterway we were talking about before we started recording, I don't know if you've ever seen it, like, but where the muskie, like their heads are sticking out of the water and they're like looking
Yeah.
for stuff
Yep.
on the surface. That happens very frequently there. And that's something that,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dude, if you could go out there and you could like see a fish do that and bomb a big, whatever wake bait out there, like a mob walker or something, and just watch that fish like turn on a dime and start like dip its head down and just swim to it, dude, that would be
Yeah.
unreal. I could see
Yeah.
you doing something like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, man, those fish don't eat, bro. Like those fish, I don't know what they're doing. I don't
Mm,
think anybody knows what they're
yeah.
doing. There's a lot of thoughts behind that. Some of the thoughts are like low oxygen content and they're
Mm,
just aerating their gills. Some of the thoughts are like it'll happen during an algae bloom, so the
mm,
algae will be like bothering their gills and they'll get
yeah.
up on the surface to try and like wash the,
Hmm,
they'll swim like decently quick up on the surface with their
yeah.
mouth open to
Like
kind of
clear
like
it out.
wash. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of a lot of the thought process is like either the aeration thing or cleaning their gills.
Mm,
But dude, I don't have a good answer for that. I've never seen a good answer for that because a lot of those arguments don't make much sense because a lot of the times those algae blooms are worse at the surface anyways,
yeah.
right? And maybe they just don't know that's a terrible way
Terrible
to clean their
tactic.
gills. Yeah. Or, the aeration thing makes the most sense, but I've seen that happen in like really healthy bodies of water
Mm,
too. So I don't know what that is to be honest with you, but those fish do not eat, bro. Like
mm.
they just don't eat. I've thrown baits at those fish more times than I could possibly count, and they will not eat. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but their eating is not on their priority list, not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's weird fish. Weird fish doing weird stuff.
Super weird.
But let's so July, so we probably recorded that episode in June last year if I had to guess. So probably about a year, pretty close to a year
Yeah.
ago exactly, we recorded that episode last year. What we kind of we sent a list. So I know we talked about the Browns last year, but you were just kind of getting into it like brown trout on smaller glide baits. Was that something that you did throughout the summer last year, or like let's go in
Mm,
chronological order what you did? Because I know the stripers I think was like in the fall.
yep.
Obviously the tournament was in the winter. So like in chronological order, what cool stuff have you done since last June?
Yeah, so my Instagram is probably the best way to go
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
that's a good idea.
so we talked in like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. So we talked in like June, July. So I guess the first trip was really that tiger trip. Um,
Mm,
so that was sweet. There's this lake that my buddy and I went to go hunt some tigers at, and we killed it, man. It was epic. These fish they're pretty pressured fish, but they're also like, I don't know, man. They're pressured fish, but in terms of, and it's a small body of water, to be honest with you, but
yeah.
these fish reacted beautifully to big baits. I mean, it was pretty spectacular. So the first day I caught four, and then the second day I caught four, and my buddy caught one. So this was his first time ever fishing for muskies.
Mm.
And I bet you he had 10 eats over those 2 days,
Oh my God.
and majority of them were like boat side, and he struggled because there's such a massive learning curve with muskies and boat side game and
Yeah.
everything, and he struggled really bad. Whereas like I converted on most of mine, he unfortunately did not, but he ended up getting one, which was the whole goal of the trip. I mean, you know, with musky fishing specifically, we were there for like 36 hours, and with that, our goal with that trip was to have him uh, catch one,
Mm.
and goal accomplished. So that was sweet. But so I ended up catching eight in 2 days, and I also dumped what I can virtually guarantee you was the state record. Um, we had it in the net,
Mm.
and it broke the net, and then flopped out of the net with the bait hanging from it by one hook. I like literally, bro, dove in. My buddy like grabbed my legs. I dove in to grab this fish, had her by the tail, and she just powered out of my hands.
Mm.
But it was a over 4 foot tiger muskie, and it was the fattest muskie I've ever seen in my entire life. It was a absolutely repulsive looking fish, and we had it in the net. It was just absolutely devastating, bro.
Dang.
Um, Devastating. Yeah. So eight tiger muskies. I'm not gonna complain. And plus, my buddy got one that was his first muskie, and we were super pumped about that. But what could have been, dude? I was just man, I was sad.
What this is a good ethical question for you. So obviously
Yeah.
leaving the fish in the net in the water, great for it. What do you think of those current tanks that guys put like I think there was a video of it going around like a couple of years ago. Like guys on St. Clair have like the revival tanks, like where it's a small.
Yeah.
Not, what do you think about those? So if you guys aren't familiar, they're essentially probably like a foot wide by probably 4 or 5 foot plexiglass tank that's probably, maybe a foot tall, and it's got aerating water through it. It hooks up. I'm sure it hooks up to your live well, and it's just an acrylic tank with a little lid, and you can get all your measurements and stuff, and not, from what I've seen, not stress that fish out from picking it up by the gills and handling it much more than you have to. So like, what is that like in your eyes and like in the muskie community? Is that like seen as a good like fish care tool, or kind of like what's the word on that?
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, bro, I have zero experience with them,
Mm,
zero, because those are a really, really big
yeah.
install. Like, yeah, that's a giant install. That's a lot of money. That's just a lot. Um, you know, in my mind, right? So the problem with a net, you put a muskie in a net, and it doesn't matter how good you are to that fish while it's in the net. It's like it's still being damaged,
Mm,
right? Like it's they'll bite the net, then they'll twist up on it, and that'll kind of like it'll mark up their nose. It'll like it'll kind of slit their fins. Even with a very appropriately sized net, that fish is still getting damaged, unfortunately.
mm,
And you can be as quick as possible, like I try to be as quick as I possibly can. I'll take the like generally what I'll do is I'll net the fish. I'll take it out of the net and bump it. I'll after I bump it, like that'll take, I take it out, bump it, put it back in as fast as I possibly can. Then the next time I take it out, take a couple of pictures and then release it, right?
mm.
Like I do it as fast as possibly can, give her a breather in between so she's not out of the water too long. Those tanks would be, I think they'd be sweet. I don't have any personal experience. I haven't done much research, but a net, regardless of how well you're handling that fish, is going to hurt the fish in
Yes.
some way, shape, or form, which sucks. And one of those tanks, I would absolutely love to have one of those because they look sweet.
Mm.
You don't have to worry about the net damaging them, and giving that fish that amount of time to just hang out in there and get feisty again before you release her. I really do think that would be a sweet idea. I can't see any downsides, but once again, I don't have any personal experience, so um, it's tough. It's tough, but I would absolutely love to have one of those things in my boat so I could check it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where I saw this. This was years ago. I don't think it was today's angler because I was just scrolling through their page. It may have been Blacktip H. I think it was a
Yeah,
guy on St. Clair who had one. Super cool, but again, I don't know
yeah,
anything, so I wasn't sure if there was any maybe drawbacks like you could tell from like that design or that that fish care, I guess is probably the. Oh wait, here's the video. Yeah, absolutely insane. Just fish just chilling in there.
yeah.
And like you
I
can
don't. I mean,
let me
I can't
send you
think
this
of any.
video. Like, do muskies get like their fins get super red when they get overstimulated, like pretty messed up, or is that just kind of the coloring on them?
So, well, so that's kind of there's kind of like a I've heard that a lot. There's a lot of guys who think that muskies get red fins only when they're stressed out, right?
Hmm.
That's absolutely not true. Like they might get redder,
Yeah.
if they're stressed out, right? But dude, there are so many muskies. I've caught more muskies than I can count that have red fins from, you can like we were talking about earlier with the topwater eats,
Hmm.
right? The amount of times top water, you'll know it's a muskie because there's a red fin following that bait, or when they hit the surface, right? Like you can see their red fins from a mile away. That is
Mm.
a like easy, guaranteed way to like identify a muskie. Pike don't get like that. Tiger
Right.
muskies don't get like that. It's specifically like Leech Lake spotted muskies, not always Leech Lake, but spotted muskies, majority of which are Leech Lake strain muskies that have those really red fins like that, or if there's any genetic kind of crossover going on between species. Those really red fins are just part of muskies in general, right? And you'll see muskies all the time. Some bank angler, like drags the fish up onto shore. The fish is super dirty, and it's got like a gash on his head from the guy doing whatever. And it's just some, hillbilly who caught it out of a river somewhere, and the fins are like brown,
Mm.
right? Like if any fish is gonna have red fins, according to that philosophy, it's gonna be that fish,
Right.
and they're fine. Whereas, like, I have pictures of plenty of muskies that I have that I handle all my muskies the same way. I handle them all as quickly as I possibly can. I have plenty of pictures with red finned muskies. So, um, the thought process is that they get stressed out. There's more blood flow, and that it makes the fins red. I mean, muskies come stock with red fins, depending on the strain. So, um, that's not something that I would use to like gauge somebody's fish handling any
Right.
differently, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, no, I mean the tank thing is sweet, man. Like that video you sent me, right?
Yeah.
She's chilling. Like I said, you see the spots on that thing? That's spotted muskie. That's why her fins are so red, is
Mm.
because spotted muskies like that have um uh are classically the redder finned fish.
Mm. That's our state record muskie looked like that too. Uh Absolute mongoloid of a fish, and it was that color, and it had super red fins as well. Let me see if I can find it. But dude, absolutely crazy fish. But I don't know, 58-pound fish. That is insane. 59 inches
Jesus,
long.
yeah.
There's been a couple
59.
yeah, there's been a couple large
Oof.
ones caught around here. But anyway, so the muskie thing, dude, tiger muskie, absolutely insane. Especially boating 8 of them is crazy. Are the tiger muskie, from what I've heard, like fishing St. Clair that time, uh, are tiger muskie a little more aggressive? Like they'll chase, they'll like figure eight a little more, they'll boat side eat, or is that just kind of a old wives' tale?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, like I haven't targeted tigers all that much.
Mm,
And I haven't really caught that many. Like, I'm well over like well over 250 pures at this point lifetime. Um, and I'm like on my way to 300 pures, and I have, I think, a total of like 11 or 12 tigers. So I haven't really fished them that much. I mean, and the lake that I was fishing them on last time is pretty dirty water. So dirty water helps a lot with boat side game and being able to like figure eight those fish. So, but they are half pike, right?
yeah,
Pike are boat shy, A, but B, pike are idiots. Pike are the dumbest fish species, I swear to God. Like
yeah,
they're no better than a goldfish. So, and obviously tigers are half of that. So, uh, they're definitely a little easier to convince in my experience. Like they're not as uh they don't learn as much. They're not as like muskies. Sometimes, man, they'll follow you to the boat and then they'll just stare you down. And you can just telepathically tell
yeah,
they're telling you, I know who you are, leave me alone. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like tigers, in my experience, I haven't seen them do that. Like I said, they're half pike. Like I wouldn't expect too much out of them.
Right.
I don't think they're nearly as intelligent or difficult to catch. However, um,
I have limited experience with them, and that limited experience was in relatively dirty water.
Mm.
For the majority of it was. I've caught some very clear water tigers as well, but um, I don't have enough experience. But my thought is like, obviously with the half pike, half musky thing, that you do get a lot of times in nature when a hybrid comes along, you'll get kind of the best of both worlds, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah.
And I think tigers, from the fisherman's point of view, are definitely that.
Heck yeah, dude. So after the Tiger Muskie, did it roll into the Browns? Because you were catching those in like October, November? Or was there something prior to
Uh,
that?
no, after the tigers was
Was did
actually
your
I
did
found
your
a
rod come out when you were fishing for tigers? Like were you using your rod
no,
when you
no.
tiger fished?
I mean, I caught a couple on it, but
Okay.
nothing super impressive on that rod specifically for tigers. But so my rod actually came out in January was the first drop,
Oh,
but
okay.
I was fishing it. I was like prototyping it all summer last year,
Mm.
and biggest muskie I caught on it was a 46 and a half. Um, so that was nice because that was like a really really nice fish to put on it, and a bunch of like low 40s as well last summer. And then after the tigers was I actually found like a summer largemouth bite, and I caught my length PB largemouth. She had a crankbait and she was 25 inches, but only 8 pounds 12 ounces. So that kind of sucked because she looked like insane looking fish, but and super long, but just no belly to her. It was really
Yeah.
sad.
Wow,
Um,
I could not even imagine
yeah,
a 25-inch fish.
yeah, giant largemouth, bro. Caught that, and I caught that was 812, and I backed that up with a couple of sevens, and my buddy caught like a low eight, I think, or no, it was a high eight. I think it was like an 814.
Mm.
Um, yeah, we found like I found this summer largemouth bite and we just abused it, and it was super fun. Super fun. And for August uh in Arizona
In
to
the
have that
desert.
good of a
Yeah.
bite, like dude, it's 115 degrees outside
Yeah.
every single day. And the largemouth were chewing. Like they were super dependable on a very, very tough lake. So like I was catching a good one every single time I was out. I
That's
was
crazy.
catching yeah, it was really cool. So that was kind of sick. Um and then after that was more muskies. I caught another 46 on my rod on a Gancraft 303.
Mm.
And a couple more low 40s.
Casual low 40s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, don't low 40s any fish over 40 is a great fish, man. Any fish over 40 is a great fish. Um, but I've caught enough now where
Right,
like
yeah.
I'm kind of in the 45 or better camp now is when I get excited. Um, but still, like low 40s are low 40s are, and honestly, some low 40s can be some of the best fighting fish. Like 44 to 46 is kind of that mark where
Mm.
like below that they're just not big enough to fight super well.
Right.
Above that, they're like too big to fight super well.
Mm.
Um, fishing that 44 to 46 range, that's where it's at, man. Those fish fight so well. Like all the best fights that I've had have been in that 44 to 46 range. Like they just absolutely beat the hell out of you.
Yeah, like their
So much
prime.
fun.
It's like a muskie's prime right there.
For sure. Like for the fight, yeah. Like they can reach their prime like size and girth wise much later, but
Mm.
in terms of the fight, they
Yeah.
still have that like spunk, and they're big enough to have that spunk really mean something, you know?
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Um but yeah, I like those fish are epic. Super fun.
Yeah, dude, on the
Uh
Gancraft 303, that's crazy.
I love that bait. I actually have a pike pattern one, and
Mm.
it was like a limited release from some tackle shop in France. Um, and they only made, I don't forget how many it was. It was either 20 or 30, something like that. of this pike pattern, 303, and I was lucky enough to grab one of the 303s, and now I think I have like 8 or 9 fish on that 303 now. Dude, they love it. That thing is like it's a perfect pike profile, and it glides beautifully. Like that thing can go 4 or 5 feet either direction. It's super impressive what that bait can do. And I was actually pretty pumped because in the off season this year, I actually picked up the 230 in that same colorway, which I saw it and I almost freaked out. And I got it for a steal too, because I don't think the guy that had
Knew.
it knew what it
Yeah.
was, but super, super, super limited, like French tackle shop gangcraft. And it just so happens to be my favorite one, which is really unfortunate. But if they made some other pike color, I'd probably like that just as much.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's dude, like Europe for the pike fishing scene, dude, that's like unmatched. It's some of those guys over there are so dialed from float tubes and stuff. Their cast catch stuff is so sweet. Like they probably think our bass stuff is super cool, but just like seeing them flip under bridges and like eight trapping fish right next to them, like that follow the glide in, like the K9 in and stuff. Man, that is some of the coolest videos on Instagram, I think.
Yeah, some of those the Euro pike guys, that's a whole nother like I don't know. That's such a cool realm of fishing. Um and those I think those fish are those Euro pike are definitely a different breed because I don't know what they feed them over there, bro, but I've seen some of the thickest pike.
Yeah.
Like those things get so fat.
And
And
they
and
rip too.
obviously those guys what?
They like rip, like they dog on guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, pike, at least in Minnesota, right? Pike are seen as kind of this very much so a lesser species. Um, and I think that's because like for whatever reason the size potential where
Mm.
we are in terms of like girth just
Hmm.
isn't there. Like don't get me wrong, there are some really long, really big fish, but those Euro pike get so fat.
Yeah.
And I also think that obviously those fish are a little bit more intelligent, much more difficult to catch than in Europe in like those European countries because those guys will really respect them and over there and there's some really really talented guys over there catching them. So it's weird to see them kind of like definitely like a second class species in the States, at least up north in the States, to
Right.
where in Europe that's like their thing, man. Same thing
Yeah.
with carp though, bro.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like the same story with carp. Like nobody gives a shit about a carp in the States, and then you go over to Europe, and that's like
That's all they
all
care
they
about.
care about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's interesting.
Yeah, it's yeah, like you said, it's very interesting. It's cool to see, but yeah, it's weird. And I think their pike, like I think is pretty relative to our bass. Like where if you fish a lake, a bunch of the glide bait, like those bass get really weary. Like that's what those pike are like out there. And you see all these fish get caught on the K9 and stuff, and I bet you in probably like 2 years that K9 bite will die down and they'll have to start fishing something else, some other, glide bait, whether it's like a 250 or a ghost or something else like that. So I'm kind of intrigued by like the longevity of their fishing because everybody over there has K9s. Like it is if you see a pike cast catch, like there is a massive chance that it's on a K9, which is cool to see. But it's like wow, like these fish, they're catching all these fish. Like eventually, these fish, I think, are gonna have to start figuring out what the hell a K9 is. But who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, it is interesting. Uh, I didn't realize that the K9 was that prolific over there. Is it that
Yeah, dude,
that
like
bad?
a lot of the European countries all have DRT pages. So DRT France just started, DRT Germany,
No way.
DRT Spain. Yeah, like every like South Korea, but I don't think they have pike or anything. But yeah, like a lot of the major like fishing states over there, or like fishing groups essentially, there's all DRT pages for them. K9 is what probably 85% of the guys fishing now. The other the other 10-15% are all fishing ghosts right now. Like it's a big thing. Like nobody fishes the TK
Damn.
because with the TK you're only going to catch Xander or those massive mongoloid perch they have there. So it's really it's K9 or Ghost, or I've seen some frenzy fish out of there recently. Like it's and everybody loves DRT, everybody loves DRT stuff, but in Europe especially, they lose their mind for DRT stuff. It's kind of cool to see
Yeah,
because they get colors we don't have, and they're appreciative of that, but then they see colors we have over here, and there's guys who are like, dude, like how can I get that color? And it's funny because the Europeans have really easy access to the JDM market, so they can get any color they want, but they can't get our US colors unless we send it to them, whatever else it may be. So it's kind of
yeah,
funny in that sense too.
yeah. I don't know, man. I don't those DRT baits. Like I used to be kind of a hater, not gonna lie. Like, but I think the problem with like my old view of DRT baits was that I was listen like this is like my problem with a lot of things, but I can't listen to people. Like
Right.
if I listen to people, I have to figure out for myself. If I figure it out for myself, then things click. If I listen to people and try to like adopt a technique they're using, adopt a bite that they have, or adopt a way that they fish their TK or their K9, like I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. So I just kind of like I don't know. I had a TK and a K9 and I fished them both like once because everybody says use those things in glide mode. I
Oh,
was so I was so underwhelmed. It wasn't even fun. Like still, I will never like. I love those baits. I will never fish them in glide mode, man. Like they are the most mediocre glides of all time. Like
mm,
they're just straight mediocrity when it comes to a glide. But bro, you put a standard lip in those things and that whale tail up, and that bait just gets absolutely slammed. Both the
yep.
K9 and the TK, those are fishy ass baits, man. And it was just because like I was, everybody was telling me to fish it in a glide, and I hated the way they glided. You have to like the TK is just terrible no matter what, but in the K9 you can get to go if you like overtune the hell out of
Hmm.
it. But dude, why I don't want to overtune a bait that bad if I just have like 30 other glides that do much
Right.
better out of
Yeah.
the box. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, I tinker and tune with the best of them, but I'm at some point it's like diminishing returns, right?
Yeah.
Especially when those baits, as like if you treat them like a big jerk, both the K9 and the TK, I don't even know. I probably have a K9 might be one of my top all-time musky catching baits of all time. And a TK is, I mean, any bass, I don't care. Any species, it doesn't matter, dude. Those things get slammed too. But yeah, I basically treat them like a giant jerk and then I walk them really well too.
Yeah. Dude,
And that's
TK
like
dead
between the,
walk.
the jerk and the walk,
Hmm.
man, like, geez, those are sweet baits. So yeah, I definitely get where they're coming from, but um,
I will say this now. I don't know how Phoenix catches fish cranking down the TK. I have never caught a fish cranking the TK down. Maybe that's a slept on technique, or maybe it just doesn't work up north, but I cannot stand cranking the TK. I just have no luck with it. And then I watch one of Phoenix videos and he catches, five fish with it. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong here? But like you said,
yeah.
just because somebody else is doing it and they're telling you to, and you try it and you're like, this is the worst swim I've ever seen. Like I'm never fishing this thing again. Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I crank it every once in a while, but not. I haven't personally done like phenomenally with it. One of my buddies, well, Doug,
Yeah.
Doug from Throwback. He caught his personal best smallmouth on the TK, cranking it hard. We were fishing them all actually hard, and I ended up netting his PB cranking the TK. It was a 6'6", 23-inch smallmouth, just an epic fish, so cool. And he caught it cranking the TK. So
Ah,
that it does get bit,
yeah, it
but
does
I
work.
mean, you're right, man. Like, yeah, it definitely works. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like it's like the classic HUD thing, right? Like you have these guys in California that slow roll the HUD, right? And they do monster numbers on it. They
Yeah.
catch a bunch of DDs. Like that 8-inch HUD is obviously one of the best bass baits of all time, right? Then some kid from Iowa or some kid from Minnesota or some kid from Michigan posts on Universe and he's like, "Hey, how do I catch the, giant bass? And then some guy from California says, slow roll the 8-inch hood. That kid is never, ever, ever, ever gonna get bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just you got to do what works for you in your own body of water. You got to figure out your own body of water. Like that's one of the big things with swim baiting in general is I see these guys all the time who are like, how do I catch fish? How do I catch a fish on this bait? What do I do? How would you guys approach this lake? It's like, man, nobody's gonna tell you the right answer. Like the only person that can tell you the right answer is you. You
Hmm.
gotta get out there, put time on the water, figure it out for yourself, because like you can get hints, but bro, those hints will lead you in the wrong direction just as much as to lead you in the right. So
Yeah.
it's just like you said, it's like just because that works for Phoenix doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Just because that works for California guys doesn't mean that's going to work for some kid in Iowa. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like it's just not the same.
Yeah, it's I will say I got on a pretty gnarly 8-inch HUD bite last year, but yeah, up to that point I was unless it was the 68, I wasn't fishing a HUD. I do have a 10-inch for this year, which I'm very excited about, but I
Dude,
digress.
oh god.
Dude, 10-inch
Yeah,
Magnum bait. Oh my gosh, that like
yeah, it's a
it's a
big
pretty
boy.
big bait. Like I've seen a Tyrant 10 and that's a pretty big bait. I think it's not as thick as the HUD, but dude, that HUD is massive. The Tyrant, when I saw the Tyrant, I was like, that thing's massive. The 8-inch looks tiny, the 10-inch looks massive, and this 10-inch HUD looks very large. I'm intrigued to see if I have any success with it. I don't know. I'm looking at the jig hook right now, and man, that jig hook is so far up the
Yeah.
bait. So I don't know. I might have to run a st I don't know yet. I have to decide what I'm gonna do later towards the end of the year. But it's a very interesting bait, and I'm pretty excited to fish it. I'm excited to see what the fish think about it.
Yeah, the 10-inch HUD it's a great bait. I've caught a few fish on it. The 10-inch, like, you definitely have to stinger the 10-inch. The 10-inch needs a stinger. 8-inch absolutely does not need a
No.
stinger. I cannot emphasize that enough. I have caught an unbelievable amount of 3-pounders on an 8-inch HUD where they absolutely choke it. The 8-inch absolutely does not need a stinger. The 10-inch is where I'm going to draw the line, though.
Yeah.
10-inch gets a stinger because it's a long bait, but length doesn't isn't a big deal. It's that width and that
Hmm.
height on the 10-inch HUD
Yeah.
that's where a stinger is going to be, because obviously the bigger the bait, the harder it is to get the whole thing in their mouth, and that width and height on that 10-inch is where the stinger becomes not mandatory, because you catch the right fish and that thing will have no problem with it. But
Hmm.
um, stingers where I'll start to feel more comfortable with a stinger on the 10 versus the 8. I'd never run a stinger. You don't need it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's if you guys didn't comprehend the fact, it's a massive freaking bait. But so
Yeah, it is huge.
after the largy bite you got on,
Yeah.
next was what do we got here? 69 and a half. Is that, am I reading that right? The 69 and a half, is that the next
Right
one?
after right after that was my walleye PB.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, my walleye PB. So that was kind of cool too, because
Oh, I was reading it from the bottom up because we talked about all that stuff. Okay, yeah, so I know where we are.
oh
Walleye
yeah, yeah, I see what you're
PB.
saying. Yeah, yeah. So the walleye PB, that was a cool fish too, because that was like, so that river that you used to talk about that was like right by your house. You used to catch a bunch of tiny smallies in it. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah, yeah.
So I have one of those kind of close to my house. It's like this tiny little river. It's like, max depth of like 4 feet, like this rinky dink little thing that eventually flows in the Mississippi, like eventually, right? It's this tiny little crappy river, mud water, basically, super shallow. And I fish it because there's some decent smallmouth in there. Like I think I've caught 2 over 5 out of it. Um, but there's a ton of like threes, tons of threes. But I've caught 2 over 5 out of it, and that might sound impressive, but for like a body of water in Minnesota, that means nothing. 2 5s, and I've been fishing it since I was like a tiny kid.
Right.
Um, And so, like, versus Mille Lacs, you can almost guarantee yourself 25 pounds every time you go. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain bodies of water
That have
um,
it.
in Minnesota that a 5 pound that a
Yeah.
5 pound smallmouth is just really, honestly, not that big of a deal. Um, and this river is so I was fishing for smallies, not expecting anything, and I caught a 31-inch, 11-pound walleye. Like, what the hell?
At
Uh,
night, right? Or
on
is that
the
just the picture black throat?
yeah,
Okay.
no, at night. Yep, at night. Yeah,
That's
I
insane.
was fishing it for smallies, and so just a giant, bro. And the thing was like super fat. The problem with that fish was that like it had a really good gut on it, but you could tell that gut was very like it was fat, but only because it was
Like
eating really
stretched
well
out.
then. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
you know what I mean? Like you can tell when a fish has been fat its whole life, or if it's like just fat in the moment and it's been like it's seen some hard times. That fish had seen some very hard times, but it was a giant, bro. Like 31 incher, 11 pounds. I was pumped. I think it's huge. And I had caught a 30 incher before. I caught a 30 and a quarter, um, or a 30 and a half a few years
Mhm.
back that was also in that 11-pound range. But 31-inch walleye out of like some rinky-dink river bycatch, I
Yeah.
was pumped. That thing was sweet.
On the is that the shore banger or the
Mini shore banger.
mini shore banger? Yeah.
Clickbait, clickbait mini shore banger, man. That bait is like everybody who bank fishes needs one of those. Every young guy who is getting into swim baits needs one of those. Like those mini shore bangers, bro, are just that thing is crazy fishy. Gets bit in every single body of water. Like it's I don't know, phenomenal bait. I've got a ridiculous amount of fish on that thing. Every species really. But
Dude,
yeah, 31-inch walleye.
that fish is like white. Like you can't tell where the belly
Yeah,
starts and the yeah, it's like brown. It's
super
not even
weird looking,
green or
isn't it?
yellow. It's just like a pale, like a skin tone color.
Yeah, super, super weird looking fish, man. And I like never in a million years did I expect that fish. I was like, because I've caught some decent flatheads out of there, and I thought for sure it was going to be a flathead. I hooked up and I was like, oh shit, a flatty, nice. Like this will be cool. And then it surfaced, and I was like, what the?
Yeah, dude. Man, it's did you catch it in like a deep hole or anything?
Yeah, yeah, like um. that river, like I said, it's like, an average of like probably 3 to 4 feet deep everywhere. And you know how rivers work. Like when it cuts, it'll get deeper on that far side. And she was right where she should have been in one of those deeper uh, bank cuts like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Probably when I say deeper, I mean instead of 3 to 4 feet, it was probably 5 to 6. But I was just, you know, probably I was either, I was ticking bottom, and by
Yeah.
ticking bottom, I mean hitting bottom every, 5 seconds kind of thing. And ticked bottom, and all of a sudden my rod loaded up, felt the head shake, and I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a big cat. Nope.
That dude, that's insane. I'll ask just because maybe the people want to know. Did you eat that fish by chance?
Hell no, absolutely not. First of all, I would never eat a fish that big. And second of all, eating it out of that river almost assuredly would give me cancer. So, um, yeah, can't do that.
Yeah, I figured, but maybe somebody listening to this isn't so well versed in the like how big and old of a walleye that is. Maybe somebody's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
it's perfect table fare for XYZ fish. For yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
don't
no,
even know.
that fish is you eat that thing, you are guaranteed mercury poisoning. Like literally not even a question.
Oh man. Striper, that's the next on the list. Is that when you and Brennan went out and were testing the KGB trout? Was that trip?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So we were prototyping the KGB trout, um, and caught a bunch of good stripers on it. I don't remember how big that one was. 32, 32. So my PB is 37 pounds out of that same place in Tennessee.
Hmm.
Um, but we were prototyping the KGB trout, and I caught like a 32. We doubled up as well. We both caught, I think they were both like high teens or maybe low 20s fish. Um, but yeah, and like that was fun too because I was still prototyping the Musky Merc at that point, and so to put a bunch of like high 20s, 30-pound stripers on it on top of all like the 46, 47-inch muskies I had caught was just like a really good like I don't know. If you're gonna test that rod on a bunch of like mid to high 40s muskies and a bunch of 20, 30-pound stripers, like that's as good of a test as you can possibly get. So that was really cool to see. Handled them just beautifully. I'm so happy with the way that rod turned out, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, bunch of striper fishing. Brendan and I do that every year. Very much looking forward to this year's trip. Uh, but that's always a good time.
You guys also like caught some good largemouth that trip too, right? Or around that time?
Yeah,
Or
that was
okay.
that was when I went to go visit Brennan
Oh,
at
okay.
his place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
largemouth bite is, and that's something that I already did that this year as well.
Mm,
So usually I'll do that in the summer, and so I go down to visit Brennan um, at his place in the summer, and then we'll do the striper trip together in the fall as well.
mm.
But yeah, we were at that point in time we were prototyping the well, I was, Brendan wasn't, but I was prototyping the work. Daniel's new bait that has caught fire recently,
Dude,
bro.
dude,
At that point
that
in time I
bait.
was prototyping the work.
That bait is legit. I know if you guys listen to that episode with Nate on, or if you guys follow Nate catches a gajillion fish on that thing. I was catching a bunch of fish on it till I had a mongoloid muskie steal it, or a
Damn.
mongoloid pike steal it. But I think I'm gonna get another one soon. But WRK work, whatever you want to call it, if you guys want an 8-inch glide, 8-inch, not 8-inch, I think.
Well, there's the 8, there's the
That yeah, okay, okay.
6.5, and then there's actually the
The
4.5 now too. I've
4.5,
been
yeah.
prototyping that for the past few months. So
But the
yeah,
eight
there's three sizes right now.
the eight
Yeah,
inch,
the 8
I
inch
don't
is what
care if you
that's what I
guys
was
live in
prototyping.
Iowa, if you guys live in Minnesota, Michigan, whatever state you live in, the 8-inch doesn't, I said it in the YouTube video I posted about it. The 8-inch does not fish like an 8-inch bait. You're gonna catch a bunch of,
No.
well, I caught a bunch of like 3-pound fish on it. And I was like, wow, this is absolutely insane. It's such a fun, responsive bait. I sound like Daniel's paying me to say all this stuff, but I'm just saying it out of like sheer enjoyment of fishing the bait. It chops, it wide glides. You can fish it slow, you can fish it fast. You can do whatever you want. Rod tip action, real inputs. Like it's a very legit bait. I know that people buy them up, so you guys probably
Yeah.
won't have a chance to like get on a drop and buy it after me hyping it up. But if you can get your hands on one, definitely do it because it is a seriously fun freaking bait for any body of water.
No, that bait is, and dude, like I prototyped the 8, and then I prototyped the 6, and now I'm 6.5, and then I'm now prototyping the 4.5. But the 8 prototype caught like a bunch of 6-pound largemouth, and then caught a bunch of stripers as well later, like super fishy bait. And then I had like a unbelievable spring on it as well, but we can talk about that later. And then the 6.5, and I was prototyping, got first and second in a tournament, like a 80 angler tournament, which once again we can talk about later. But dude, those baits are just so stupid fishy. Like I don't know, man. Like the 8 and the 6.5 work, as far as I'm concerned, are like a pretty much must have
Yeah,
for everybody. I mean, I don't know what it is, man, but oh God, those are he knocked it out of the park with those stupid things. And it's called the WRK because it's world record
because yeah,
Koniki. The bait has a damn world record, bro. Like you can say all you want about a catch and release length world record. A 47-inch tiger muskie is an absolutely epic fish, and it's a world record on the WRK. Like, how many other swim baits do you know have a world record, bro? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Those not that the 8 and the 6.5 need any more hyping right now, because unfortunately they're going for like I've seen some posts for like 2 piz for a WRK, or
that's
a
insane.
trashy and a kicker for a
Yeah,
WRK. Like they're as hype as they get right now, unfortunately. But bro, that's for a reason. Like And I've been saying for years, same thing that happened with Trashy. Like I've been saying for years that Daniel's going to explode one of these days, and it just took the right bait, and this was the one, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
check
but
out that
yeah,
post I just sent you on Instagram.
yeah,
I just sent him a picture of Nate's
yeah,
smallmouth
dude,
he
that's what
caught
I'm
on it.
talking about.
Dude, that's the
That's what
eight
I'm talking
inch.
about.
That's the 8 inch
Yeah,
WRK.
yeah.
Dude's been
That
stroking them
that
on
thing
it.
makes the 8 inch look tiny.
Yeah, dude, it's such a fun freaking bait. But yeah, it again, like I said, I'm not trying to sell it because it obviously sells itself. And I've said it before in videos and on the podcast, but it's a very, very fishy bait. So I'm not surprised. Well, once I'd seen your pictures, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's Alec. He catches really good fish. And then I got one, and then Nate got one, and Nate started catching a bunch of fish with it. I started catching fish with it, and I lost mine, and Nate continued to catch big fish with it, and I was just like, dude, this thing is absolutely insane. And people, like I said, people probably think that I'm saying this because I have some monetary value in it. I don't. It's just I call it how I see it. It's a freaking legit bait. If you're getting an 8 inch glide bait and you can pick anything that would be the bait I would get right now because it's sick. I can't say anything about the 6.5 or the 4.5. I haven't fished them, but no matter where you live, you're gonna catch fish on the 8 inch bait. You're gonna catch 2.5 pounders to 8 pounders on it. It's just a very it's a good bait. We'll just leave it at that. So
Yeah.
after you guys did that striper trip, so that was you said in the fall. So you
Yeah.
this was still up a couple months leading up to the Merc drop. So like at that point in time,
Yep.
were like you and Eric and those guys like pretty like okay yeah like we have a winner here. Like this is we're definitely gonna roll these out in the next coming months.
Yeah, so pretty much like I was the only one prototyping it, which was like I mean, I don't know, I guess it's my rod, right? But at the same time, like I was the only one prototyping it. And yeah, I think the reason for that was that Eric knew that I would
You're
do
gonna
my
do the
best. I mean,
ringer.
I
Yeah.
put like I don't know. I think I put like 15 muskies and over 10 striper on it, and a couple of nice largies and a couple of tigers, and I don't know. Like I that thing caught a lot of very big fish, and it did exactly what I needed it to do. So there was a couple of things we changed, like the where the hook keeper was changed, and then. I'm trying to think of what I don't know. There was a couple of things that got changed, but really, I mean, the blank is perfect for what we wanted. And every like to what for what I wanted, it was perfect, man. We were pretty excited, and then so that first drop happened in January. There was like I think 30 rods is what we had, and they sold out in a little bit under a week, I think.
Mm.
And which was perfect because I mean, honestly, bro, like we released it on I think it was January 1st was the release, I think something like that. But it was like right after Christmas, like the worst possible time to drop a rod. I think was like right after the holidays, and that was like kind of intentional, right? Because we wanted to make sure the guys that got it, guys that really wanted it, got it, and the guys that were just picking up, pick it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so we released it, and then we're actually the second batch is in the warehouse right now.
Mm.
So that's we're pretty excited. Leviathan's first step into the musky world, so
Yeah.
that's a fun thing. And really, honestly, like it's called the Musky Merc, dude, but it's just for any time that you want to throw a giant ass bait and not have to use musky size hooks to do it, right?
Mm.
Like that's the big problem with musky rods. I mean, have you used like a true musky rod, like a musky?
Yeah.
Uh,
I fished I think it was the Musky Innovation telescopic, like
yeah, yeah,
seven
yeah,
to
yep,
nine foot. Oh my gosh, dude, I've never been so sore after a day of fishing before.
yeah,
That with a
exactly. But
Tranks
that's the
400
problem,
and like a
bro.
14-ounce bait, like big old rubber bait. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, bro. It's like people, the musky world is in this delusion that if you're fishing for muskies, you have to use a
a super heavy rod that is, that can drive a 5x 7/0 hook into a muskie's mouth. It's
Dude.
like, if you're targeting them in like really high water temperatures when you shouldn't be targeting them in the first place, then, you know, getting them to the boat as fast as physically possible is definitely, and using giant gear and giant hooks is definitely legitimate. But like, if you're targeting them in the spring or in the fall when those water temperatures are going to allow you to, play that fish a little bit and to not have to beeline her into the net, then a true moderate rod like the Musky Merc is like doesn't exist in the musky world. It really doesn't. And bro, I've caught a ton of fish on like 1x 3/0 hooks, which still sounds giant, right? Don't get me wrong. Those are still big hooks, but like 1x 2/0 hooks and 1x 3/0 hooks and 1x 5/0 hooks, like that 1x on a muskie for making sure that fish gets hooked is
Yeah.
huge, is
Yeah.
absolutely huge. And in my mind, right? If a fish eats and I don't get hooks, like that's devastating to me. I'd much rather have them get hooks and then me do something wrong, right? Because at least I can blame myself.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, if they get hooks and it's one of those 5x 7/0 hooks, like that doesn't guarantee hook penetration, unfortunately, because those hooks are massive
Yeah.
and they're so thick, like you gotta find the right spot in their mouth. And what the Merc does is it allows you to really fish for muskies and use the size of bait that muskies require sometimes, um, and use hooks on those baits that are not absolutely giant. So, that plays into the swim bait world perfectly. Like it really truly is. And the swim bait philosophy is really the same philosophy, right? Because you're using, like you've seen guys out in Arizona or California fishing size two hooks on a hinkle. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? The only way you get away with that is using a swim bait rod, like a true swim bait rod. You use like an XL frog rod or a musky rod, which that size of bait usually requires, right?
Mhm.
Like when I say XL frog, I don't mean like literally a frog rod, but the action of a frog rod. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a musky rod, where that's generally what a lot of guys will use for a bait that's 10 ounces. You're never landing that fish because those hooks are going to get destroyed. But really, the Merc is just hey, I want to throw a 10 to 16 ounce bait. I want to throw a giant bait and I want to not have to worry about those hooks getting out on me before that fish hits the net.
Mhm.
That's what that rod was for. Doesn't exist in the musky world yet, and it does what its job absolutely perfectly. And I don't know. I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, dude. And I have some questions about that, but that is a little bit further down on the list here. So after the
Yes,
stripers,
sir.
it was brown. Okay, so this was like right in the fall. That's what I thought. You, I'm pretty sure last time you were on, you were catching them in the fall of 20. Were you catching them in the fall of 23 or like in the spring of 24? Because I remember we talked about it in the last episode.
Yeah, so those Browns were in Arizona, believe it or not. And so I was only in Arizona for 2 years, and that was the
Okay.
last 2 years. So yeah, those Browns were all in Arizona over the past 2 years.
That's crazy
So
because
yeah,
you
we
say
we have
brown
talked about
trout,
it before.
people do not think, oh yeah, he's talking about Arizona.
No, hell no, 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 exactly. That's why I say, because dude, like I've shown those fish to people and they'll ask me where I caught them and I'll say Arizona and they will literally not believe me. Like not believe me, like they're like, oh yeah, sure. Like not believe me where they'll get legitimately angry.
Pissed off,
Like they'll be
yeah.
like, no, those were not in Arizona. Like I
Those are
know those
Great
weren't in
Lake run
Arizona.
browns, yeah.
Well, right, exactly. Like they all say that. It's like, dude, these things are out of a river in Arizona, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Uh, yeah, it's rough. Those fish they're definitely unicorns, and I definitely, you know, it's one of those bites that I stumbled into that is unbelievably consistent and epic, and I'm very happy. Um, but definitely unicorn fish, man. Super cool.
Yeah, especially on the glide bait. just even
Yeah.
cooler. Absolutely
Oh,
crazy.
and watching every single one of them eat too,
Mhm.
man. Like, you know, these like 5 inch glides, watching browns. Yeah, God, I could talk about that bite forever. I absolutely love that. That is something I'm actually really excited for here too, because
Yeah.
obviously the trout game around the Great Lakes is a really big deal. So I cannot wait to watch some Great Lake trout eat some 5 inch glides, man.
I'll
Um,
send you some videos when we're done of some salmonoids eating some glide baits.
no, you've already sent me
Okay,
those,
okay.
man. You sent me, no, it was what, a couple years ago you sent me them
Yeah,
eating the
yeah.
TK. I was like, oh my God, dude. No, I don't. And since you and I are so close now, I'm coming. We're doing that.
Yeah,
I don't care how long I have to drive, man. I'm doing
we'll
that.
do it.
We're hanging out, Adrian. We're gonna feed some salmon, some 115s, bro, or some work 4.5s now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's actually why Daniel made that 4.5. It was because I was begging him. I was literally like on my, like, Daniel, please, I gotta stop throwing this 115. Like, I have zero affiliation with depths.
Yeah.
Like, every time I catch a fish on a 115, don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled, but I'm at the point now in my life where I pretty much exclusively fish baits that my friends make, which I'm very, very lucky to do. Like, super honored, very talented friends. But I'm also not gonna like BS on what I caught it on. I caught all these browns on a 115. Pretty devastating to me. I would love if somebody that I love were to make my 115 for me. And I was like, Daniel, please. And dude, he made it better. The 4.5 is just magical. So I'm really excited to see what they do to it.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've got a
y-
couple small glide baits coming very soon. The 4.5, that one that Kyle did up, or
yeah, the
Kyle
I was
Throwback did
the
up.
mini,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mini. Yeah, believe it or not, I was responsible for that one too. Which sounds bad. Like, don't like, I feel bad saying that because like I like, I'm a big bait guy, like a real big bait guy. You know what I mean? And uh, I am responsible for a couple of very small baits, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll show you what I was talking about. But I was unfortunately responsible for the mini as well. I'll send you the. But yeah, I was like Kyle, like, and the mini is spelled Minne, right? And I was like, dude, you got to make a tiny glide, like a tiny,
Oh shit.
like Minnesota.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's like, no, he's like, why you have to do this to me? And so like a week later, he sent me the picture of him making it, and I was like, no way, you actually did it. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's hilarious. After that, sorry, we kind of got on a little bit of a tangent there. After the Browns, which absolutely crazy experience, going, I
Hmm.
I kind of I want to talk about the Browns, but I don't. I guess you're not in Arizona, so we can kind of indulge on it a little bit. Are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those fish like pushing into like a shallow creek arm to like go do brown trout stuff? Or were you fishing like the main, what is it, like the White River out there is like the big trout river out west? Like was it like a big, like well-known trout river, or was this just like a little creek arm like your walleye that these fish would just push up into, and you were, just kind of stalking them and catching them?
Yeah, so it's both kind of. It's the biggest river system in Arizona that has browns, and it is a creek of said river system that they're pushing up into to spawn, and it's pretty much the mouth of that creek.
Mm.
So where is where I'm basically catching them as they're deciding to go upriver to spawn, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so there was like a constant inflow of big fish. And my biggest one that I caught was 26 and a half inches. And that was, I didn't weigh it, but like for Arizona, bro, that's a giant, like
Yeah.
a giant. We're definitely over 10 pounds. Not sure how big, but I caught a few like absolute tank 24s, like ultra thick 24s. I caught a couple of 25s. Yeah, absolutely epic fish. And they're basically like they're in the river. And I don't think you catch
So these
Yeah,
fish are
whatever.
pushing up in there, and I'm assuming they're loading up on like small bait fish and stuff.
Yeah, dude. And so so Arizona stocks trout a ton, like a ton. Um, and in this river system, they stock uh, what they call sub-catchable size rainbows.
Mm,
Okay. And they stock a bunch of sub-catchable size rainbows in there. And depth 115 in a rainbow trout color, specifically yamame, that is, that's like
yeah.
yamame is like the Japanese word for like juvenile rainbow, basically.
Hmm.
Um, and dude, they would just unleash on this Depths 115. Like every single one of them would just like no doubt in their mind. They'd never seen it before. No
Right.
doubt in their mind that was a juvenile rainbow. And that's what they eat, bro. That's what that's what people don't understand is like trout diets change dramatically. Like they go, I guess there's some guys that understand it, but like if you're targeting trout with swim baits, like there's a time when their diet transitions from, the classic fly fishing shit to bait fish. And a big bait fish for giant browns is juvenile rainbows, just like bass, just like every other like, giant fish that has access to drought. They love trout. And those juvenile rainbows are easy pickings for them. So yeah, I would just sit basically at right where they were like planning to spawn and they couldn't help themselves, man. It was such a cool bite. I'm gonna miss that one. There's a few bites in my past that God, am I gonna miss? And that's definitely one of them.
I just wrote a note down that we'll talk about after the fact that might be a pretty cool bite for us to try to get on, whether it's up by me or down by you, but I don't want to talk about it too much. But anyway, so
Yeah,
after the
yeah, yeah, no,
Browns,
yeah.
that was like November-ish. We roll in through Christmas.
Yep.
So like probably December, like you were getting like probably pretty hyped. Like you guys knew I'm assuming you guys knew that you were dropping the Mercs, right around that beginning of January, first week of January, January 1st. And like, I mean, at that point, it's already winter time, so it's not like you can really go out and do much more, like content with it essentially, like going out and catching muskie or whatnot. I guess Arizona, you probably could, but what was out there was out there, and people were gonna buy it just based off of what they'd seen. Were you nervous? Kind of selling it outside of the season, like as early into the year as it was, or maybe even like right after Christmas, because that's like a big thing. I know with some bait builders is they worry about drops after Christmas. Like leading up to Christmas is fine, wives, girlfriends, kids buying baits for their dad, or dads buying them for themselves around that like Christmas shopping season, and then after that, historically everybody spends a lot of money around Christmas time, and like the sales of everything kind of plateau up until you get to that like February, March time. So was January, like kind of like in the back of your mind, you're like, oh man, like these might sit a little while till people recoup their fun money, or kind of like were you just like, guys who are gonna buy them are gonna buy them no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, like I was referencing earlier, I think objectively, I don't think there's a worse time to drop a rod. Like, I really don't. Right after Christmas, like that, terrible. Not even close to muskie season, terrible. Like, I don't, like I said, I really don't think there's a worse time to drop a rod. It was objectively like a terrible, terrible time to drop that rod. Um, and it's still sold. It's still sold out. Which when I still, I get messages probably once a week right now that say like, "Hey, when's the next batch of Mercs coming?"
Mm.
You know. So super happy with that. But no, dude, I was super nervous, bro. Are you kidding me? Like, like Eric and Mike. I don't know how nervous they were, but they seemingly weren't very nervous. And I was, dude. Of course, I was nervous. Like the amount of trust that like Mike and Eric put in me for this, that's a big deal, man. Like it's a big deal, and I felt like my name's on it, so the success of it is I'm definitely the most responsible for, right? So to have it sell out, obviously it took a little bit longer. Obviously there's probably some rods out there selling out instantly, but for us to still sell out in like a week and to have it be like the worst possible time.
I was very happy with. So, and I think with the amount of messages that I get asking for when the next Merc batch is coming, this next batch I feel like uh we'll definitely sell it quicker because it's coming relatively soon. So it'll be this summer when the next
Mhm.
batch is coming, and obviously that's going to be a much better time to drop it than the week after Christmas when
Right.
the season is nowhere near. So, but no, hell yeah, bro! I was so nervous. I was crazy nervous. Are you kidding me? But it went relatively well, and I was I got a lot of I got some messages from a lot of guys that I'm pretty excited to see what they do with it. So.
Mm. Did you kind of like design like your handle and everything, like your color threads and stuff, or did you kind of let Mike and Eric take the ropes on that and just give them the parameters that you look for or what you're looking for in a signature rod and kind of let them, go mad scientist on it?
No, they let me do. I
Mm.
mean, all the specifications were pretty much me. Like the way that it happened was, it was actually right. I mean, I think I told you this, but the Scales and Tails episodes we did with, it was like you, me,
Episode
Eric, and I
30,
think Jason
Jason.
Carroll.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was that day. The day we had that episode was the day that rod. Uh,
Was
that was the conception of that
it
rod.
yeah, I was about
So
to say.
after we talked, Eric was like, "Hey, stick around. I want to talk to you for a little while." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, bro." And so we talked for a little while, and he goes, "So we want to get into the Muskie game, and we want to put your name on the rod." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, I mean, to be fair, this was after I had, I was full time in school, and I
Yeah.
had back to back seasons where I landed 50 muskies from the bank in school. So obviously Eric, like he knew I was dedicated to muskies for sure, but he's like, we want to put your name on the rod, and he's like, what do you want? Was the next part of that conversation, right? He was like, what do you want? Like, what is like your ideal musky rod, and what can we do to make it like swim bait oriented? And dude, I was so excited because I was like, all right, Eric, like this doesn't exist yet, bro. We're gonna make like an ultra moderate rod that can sling giant baits. It's got to be 9 feet long. It's got to have a nice handle to it. It's got to, you know what I mean? Like, and I said it's got to detach at the handle so that we can make this thing worth shipping, so that like he did everything he could to put my exact specifications on it. He's like, what colors do you want? What do you want to do? Blah blah blah. What do you want it to be called? Really, the only thing he didn't go with was the name. Honestly, the name was like 100% Eric. Um, but everything else was pretty much me. I mean, obviously they built it, and the credit is 90% to them. But in terms of like the idea, the specifications, the color, like the colors, all that stuff was me telling Eric what I would want out of my perfect musky swim bait rod.
Mm. That's freaking awesome. Was there anything
Yeah.
you changed from that January batch to this batch? Like, hey, maybe like you had mentioned the hook keeper earlier. Was that something that changed from your prototype to the first batch, or kind of was there
Yeah.
anything that like maybe people voiced and you're like, oh man, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, let's make a slight tweak here, or was it pretty much the same exact rod from that first drop?
Yeah, there was the only changes were between the proto and the first drop.
Okay.
Between the second first drop and the second drop, there will not be any major changes.
Okay, perfect. I figured you got everything, streamlined after the prototype to that first drop. But I never know. Maybe something crazy. Maybe somebody's like, I don't XYZ, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I'm the only person I know
Yeah.
that likes that designer or something else like that. So figured like I had to ask.
Yeah, there was quite a few guys who asked me if I was going to put any handle in front of the reel. Um,
I know. Yep.
which is like that's a really common thing in the musky world for like ripping rubber and
Yeah.
whatever. But to be honest with you, like what the baits that I'm fishing on that rod, I never ever ever need that. And like you could argue figure eight stuff, but I like to hold my rod as with two hands as far down the handle as I can manage with two hands
Mm.
on a good figure eight, because you'd be surprised how much a little extra length on that rod can make a figure eight that much better. Like, a rod that's 8 feet versus a rod that's 8'6" fishes a lot differently boat side. Um, and so gripping the rod further down and allowing, instead of having that four grip, to grip it further down and do your eight from there really can make a big difference. So really that was the only argument that I could that I saw. And even then, really you should be changing your figure eight technique. So a four grip will not be coming. And I don't really think a four grip. I got that request a couple of times, and I don't think a four grip is what we want on that rod.
Right.
Um,
It is
yeah.
a ferruled rod, right?
Sorry, what?
Detaches the handle.
Oh, yeah. So the blank, so the handle is hollow for uh about 6 inches. It basically breaks down into a 7 foot piece and a 2.5 foot piece, and then the 2.5 foot piece absorbs 6 inches of the 7 foot piece. So it ends up being about 9 feet.
Hmm.
And the blank, the 7 foot piece of the rod inserts into the 2.5 foot piece with the handle and the reel holster and everything.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And I remember seeing pictures, and then I heard you say two piece, so I figured it. I figured it didn't come apart 4 foot up, and a classic two piece rod.
Yeah, definitely not.
There was something else I was gonna ask you. Oh, just for my curiosity, because the one time I like strictly went musky fishing, they all had the pistol grips. Is that rod like? Could you put one of those Velcro pistol grips on it if that's something that guys are into? And like you said, you're not this rod you're fishing isn't necessarily like what you would do. Like you mentioned earlier, like with the four grips. Like I can't imagine that you like design this rod specifically around a pistol grip, but that's another question I feel like I had to ask because that's starting to become pretty common in big rods I've seen, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, those pistol grips are interesting. Like, they do have attachable pistol grips. That's something that's been around for a while. In my experience, they kind of suck. Like,
Yeah, I will
if you're
agree.
gonna get a pistol grip rod, yeah, if you're gonna get a pistol grip rod, it's got to be built in. And the built-in pistol grip rods, man, are those controversial. Like, guys either adore them or absolutely hate them, and there's really no in between. And to be honest with you, I haven't used very many of them, and they're nice for like what I like the pistol grips for, or things that you are constantly cranking to the point where it's like fatiguing for you to be cranking them. And really, that list for me boils down to bucktails. I
Mm.
do actually like a pistol grip rod for bucktails, but outside of that, I really don't like them. And if it's detachable, dude, I really didn't like them because that just adds like this element of insecurity.
Yep.
They're not like perfectly fitted to the rod, and it just gives you a little bit of play. And I really don't like that. It feels like I'm sure you've experienced it, and I'm sure the guys listening have experienced it. But like, when you have a reel that doesn't fit perfectly into the reel seat of a rod and there's like a little bit of play, that's what those detachable pistol grips feel like for me, and I hate it. I really don't like it. So those suck. I don't like those. But the non-detachable ones, ones that come stock, like
Hmm.
St. Croix's doing a lot of that right
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
Those are nice for bucktails. Outside of that, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, dude, those
But
detachable
theoretically,
ones
you could,
suck.
yeah. Theoretically, you could put one on the Merc, but it would have to be pretty small
Yeah.
of an attachment, and I would highly recommend against it. So,
Yeah, dude, those detachable ones, when I went, I was using that big rod. I think it was like 20 to 40 ounces or something ridiculous like that. And it was this mongoloid of a telescopic rod. So, or I say it's telescopic, but it was like a ferrule rod, but it would just break down into the butt, and it would. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, but maybe some of the
yeah,
guys
yeah,
listening
yeah.
don't.
That's like
So
a very big musky thing right now.
yeah,
Is like
yeah, it
they're
slides
a
out.
one piece telescopic
Yeah,
kind of style.
yep. So it slides out, locks in place. You have a big Tranks 400 on there with the power handle, which I'm indifferent with power handles. I don't care for them. I don't hate them. And then the Velcro on pistol grips, which, like you said, I'd go to rip like the Medusa or whatever I was fishing at the time, and you like so to put it into words for you guys, the rod but or like it sits where the trigger is, like where your bait casting trigger is. It's a hollow handle, so the trigger sits right there. So that's kind of like a quote unquote like locking point for it. And then it velcros. It's kind of a cradle. It cradles around the rod handle, and then you velcro it back to itself. And it's a very interesting setup. I was not a fan of it. Like you said, you go to cast and you start ripping on that thing, and not even that it flexes, but it starts to roll on the blank or it starts to roll on the handle because
Yeah.
there's no real like lock point to it. It's very like not great. But maybe some guys that's their jam. Like I would see like people that fish twice a year needing that to like make sure they don't yeet the rod in the water. But like I
Yeah.
told the guy when I was fishing with him, I was just like, I don't, dude, I can I take this off? Like I do not like this. Like I am completely okay with ripping a bait without this thing. He's like, yeah, dude, take it off. And I took it off. I'm like, oh my gosh. If I hooked up with a fish while I was holding it on that, I felt like the Velcro was gonna come undone and the rod was gonna get in the water. Like I just talk about it all the time, the confidence you have to have when fishing. And dude, if I was to hook a
Yeah.
fish, I would be not even subconsciously, I would be consciously thinking of, holy crap, this handle's about to break, or I'm gonna go to leverage or like pull up on this fish and this handle's gonna snap or give out, or just whatever else it may be. I was just not comfortable with it, and I knew like if I was to hook up with a fish, it's not gonna end well for me or the fish or this handle and rod. Like it just does not the move for me.
Yeah, I think with if you're with a guide, right? Like I think the odds of somebody throwing that rod into the water or losing grip on that rod when they're fighting a fish is probably a lot lower. So I could totally see a guide using that. But yeah, it's just that extra element of like
Mhm.
insecurity that
Yeah.
really bothers me. Like I really don't like that. So no, I totally agree there. They're like kind of a fad right now. I don't know how long that's going to hold, but you'll notice very commonly that not a lot of very serious musky guys use them. Or if they do use them, it is a built-in pistol grip, like a
Mhm.
pistol grip that it comes stock
Molded
on the
to, yeah.
rod. Yeah, exactly. Those attachable ones are just ones that guys see and buy a couple of, and then they use twice, realize they hate them, and never touch them again. It's or just or like you said earlier, like there's just like swim baits, right? There's a lot of guys that identify as swim bait fishermen that go fishing once a year, or catch one fish every couple of years, or whatever. Same, Musky World is no different. Musky World might even be worse, but there's a lot of guys that have 15 Lakewood tackle boxes full of bulldogs and bucktails, and they have a fishing room in their house, and they go fishing with a guide twice a year. It's just kind of like a lot of those pistol grippers, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not my thing, and it doesn't sound like it's a lot of guys' thing unless they're kind of, yeah, they don't do it too often. So that was
No.
January. Oh, sorry, continue. I don't mean to cut you off there.
Oh no, I wasn't saying
Oh,
anything.
okay, okay. So January, the first round of Musky Mercs drop. Those sell out within the week. So your were you in Arizona, or were you kind of off of school, have some free time back in Minnesota? Because my question is going to lead into the next thing on our list, but I want to kind of get a chronological event on if you were hanging out in Arizona through January or if you were back up home.
Yeah, I was in Arizona, so
Okay.
I
Okay. So you
I
could
was
you
in I was
could
in
still be
Arizona.
fishing, you're right, at that time.
Yeah, I could, and I was, bro. I was fishing a lot. The problem with Arizona is that they didn't stock trout this
Yeah.
year, so the bite
Yeah.
just didn't exist. It was unbelievably depressing, man. That was a really hard time because those fisheries rely on that trout
Mhm.
stock to have that crazy winter bite, and that didn't happen this year, and it was just
purely devastating. So
Yes.
we were fishing, but it was, oh, I mean, that's something that we'd have to have another episode about
Oh,
there, Adrian, because that was
my
that,
my
dude.
acquaintances,
We,
my acquaintances filled me in on that
yeah.
whole event.
Oh, I know,
Oh
I
yeah.
know. But did they tell you about talking to Game and Fish and how Game and Fish was arguing that uh did they tell you about that part?
No, they did not.
Oh, okay. So these idiots, bro. All right. So the reason why they didn't stock trout is because somebody new took over. Okay.
Mm,
Somebody new took over from the last guy. That somebody new stopped the trout stocking because um they said that the trout do not get caught by people, that they get eaten by the largemouth. And so the trout go to waste, and that's why they're not going to stock this year. And that's the whole
did you say that's the
goddamn
point?
point.
Yeah.
That's the point. And to make it worse, Adrian, it wasn't just the swim bait fishermen who were like, that's the point. That's why you stock the trout. It's not for like the hillbillies to come catch them. It is so that these bass eat them and get giant. To make things worse, it wasn't just a swim bait fisherman. They had a document, okay, from like 2018, 2019, and it was literally titled How to Grow Like a Mega Giant Largemouth in Arizona or something like that. And this was a public document from Arizona Fish and Game, okay? And this document, the first bullet point on the document was stock trout in these lakes to make sure these bass get giant. Like that was the whole, like basically that document can be boiled down to we got to feed them trout so they get huge so that people want to catch them, so that
Revenue.
people pay to come to the lakes and whatever, right? um and we sent them that document and they were like, no,
It's
no, like
outdated.
no, like we like it's outdated, or they're like, we have caught big bass in lakes that we don't stock trout in. And we're like, yeah, for sure. But just because you caught an 11 out of a lake that you don't stock trout in doesn't mean that the state record almost 17 pounder wasn't caught out of a trout stocked lake. Like, oh God, bro, it was just so frustrating. Um, like an 11-pound fish is a giant. A 17 pounder, a 16 and a half pounder is just completely in its own universe. Like, and that only happens in trout fed lakes, man. Like, or in Texas. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things where we could have argued that till the cows came home and they didn't care. The new person that took over had already made up their mind, and trout stocks in Arizona are unfortunately a thing of the past at this point, I think. Or unless they get rid of this new person and somebody with two functioning brain cells comes back. But yeah, super frustrating, man.
That new person, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here. That new person was the hillbilly that wanted to catch the trout, but the damn bass was eating them. So
Yeah,
that's why they're like, if I can't have the
yeah.
trout, these bass aren't having it either.
Yeah, I know. Super sad, man. It was super sad. So, and what happens is those trout get stocked and those largemouths start eating shallow
They
because those
go
trout are
crazy.
shallow.
Yeah.
They go absolutely nuts on them, man. Like I've seen some things that will like just make you want to cry because
Hmm.
of those trout stocks. And what happens is you don't stock trout, those bass don't come shallow because the
Yeah.
gizzard that they're eating, the threadfin they're eating are not shallow that time of year. Only those stalker trout that are within that first, 3 feet of the water column 90% of the time, right? Like, oh God. So the bite just completely changed. We lost a lot of our bite. And the bass were just impossible to find. It was, man, it was devastating. So I mean, I grinded, man, and without complete, like, grinded entirely without reward until the springtime.
Yeah.
So super, super, super sad. Especially with like the year that I had before that.
Hmm.
Oh God, like I wish they stocked again because those, I don't know, that makes me sad. And obviously it was my last year in Arizona, but it's not just for me, man. Like I made some really good friends down there, and
Yeah.
and that's going to change those fisheries dramatically. So, um, I don't know. I wish Arizona luck, but
that's going to change a lot for them. So,
I tell you what, one of the Arizonian guys, they plan
yep.
on coming up here for a while because they do not want to be down there. So, yeah, that just some foresight. Somebody will be coming up north to fish this year because they're like, I do not want to be in Arizona when throughout the summer. Like, no, I'll come see what Michigan's all about. So, you guys have something to look forward to, maybe some cool content.
They're evacuating, man, because they have to. Because
Yeah.
what's the point, bro?
Hmm.
Like, if Arizona is going to be that brutal and they're not going to stock trout, like,
Yep.
I don't know. It makes sense they're both leaving, man. Because it's sad, but it is what it is. I do the same thing. I mean, I am doing the same thing. Not entirely, not entirely for the same reason,
Right, right.
but you know, partially for the same reason. You know, there's a part of me that's pretty happy I didn't wind up in Arizona again because it's
Right.
like if it, I rely so much on fishing for my mental health, and if I go out and fish 10 times and not catch a damn largemouth the whole time, like what reprieve do I get? Like
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, this like leads in perfectly. So, if you guys are not familiar, if you're from the Greater White North and you have never thought about catching bass in the wintertime, there is a crazy, I would dare call it a phenomenon because it is just that crazy. First time I heard about it, first time Dave told me about it, or maybe it was Kyle told me about this like whole thing that goes on. We've kind of talked about it before, I think you and I and some other people from the
Yeah.
area, but there is a winter swim bait tournament in the state of Minnesota. Let me repeat that for you guys. There is a winter swim bait tournament in the state of Minnesota on the Mississippi River. It is insane. It is such a beyond concept. Guys down south may not have any idea like the huge like insanity behind this concept. But mind you, it is 10 degrees, negative 10 degrees, and these guys are fishing. I've heard of guys fishing like or not trucha, like the slob, whatever the toxic wake is. I'm blanking here, but like fishing that in January, February, and
Wade
catching,
hogs.
yeah, yeah, fishing the wade hogs in February, catching fish on it in the middle of winter, like in the middle of a snowstorm or in the middle of like a Minnesota winter, like that concept is absolutely foreign to everybody unless they've heard of this event. So you helped do this event for the last couple of years now. So give us the hoedown on this event and just tell us why I mean, dude, it's probably the coolest swim bait tournament that is out there just because it's so foreign to everybody.
Yeah, so it's called the Freeze Your Bass Off. It was actually called Freeze Your Ass Off, but we changed it to Bass Off for political reasons. But it it's in February every year in Minnesota, and it's basically like the whole goal of it. So so Dave and I founded it. Like I think this was the third
This is the
year.
third,
So Dave
yeah.
and I
Yep.
founded it like yeah, like almost 4 years ago now is when we started kind of brainstorming this. And basically, Dave wanted to do it. And at first, I was kind of hesitant, right? Because this was a body of water that I'd fished for a long time. Um, and I didn't want it's an unbelievably pressured body of water. Like, it doesn't get much more pressured in the state of Minnesota than this body of water. And that ultimately is what led me to just be like and say, you know what, screw it, let's do it. Because I had that swim bait bite to myself for a while, honestly. Like, not entirely to myself, but it felt like it.
Hmm.
And it had gotten to the point where the pressure was so much that I was like, screw it. You know what? Like, Dave wants to do this tournament, I'll help him. And the whole goal is like, I don't know if the Mississippi River obviously goes across a bunch of states. And I think the experience is pretty much ubiquitous at this point when it comes to the Mississippi. But man, that body of water just can be a pile of trash sometimes. Like
It was a
when I
pile of
say pile of
trash this
trash, I mean
last
like
weekend. Let me tell you that.
yeah, yeah. I mean like literally like there's just trash everywhere. And this place that we fish is no different every single year, man. All these live baiters come and they leave all their bait bags and they leave all their line and leave all their beer cans, and people just destroy this body of water, and it's super sad. So that was our whole goal. Our goal was to just clean up the Mississippi River. Um, and the first year we had I think like 50 people show up, had donations from all sorts of people, man. Like every year we do this, I am just blown away by the generosity of the swim bait community. Like, what an unbelievable place. Like, what an unbelievable group of people, man. There's I mean, I could pull up the post, but dude, I mean, oh God. Screw it. Let's just do it. I'll read just um, some of the people who donated. So, Piz, Leviathan, Trashy, Clickbait, Throwback, Oxbow, Deps, Savage Gear, BGC, Chocolate, Deps, um, Lanciotti, Madness, like Balam, like Madness
Yep, Madness
Japan,
belong. Yep.
yep, MBD, so Monster Bait Development, Naisa, Takamura, McGee Custom Rods. We actually had the city that we work with to
Yeah,
sponsor it this year
that was
too. They
crazy.
gave us a little grant. Super cool. Okuma, Optimum, Pro Bass Adventures Mexico, Real Prey. You did, Adrian. You sponsored it. Scales and
I
Tails is on
did.
this list. Swimbait Universe, True Glide, KGB. Uh,
Was
man, I
Savage
mean,
Gear?
I could, and
Was
that's like, yeah, bro. We had
Yeah.
Savage Gear, we had Okuma, we had Depths, we had like all these super big names, and that's just half the list, man. Like,
Mm.
that's just half the list. There's still, and so super cool, man. I mean, it's a sick ass tournament. First year we had like 6 or 50 people. Next second year, unfortunately, didn't go quite. I couldn't be involved, unfortunately, because of school. Um, so the turnout wasn't quite what it was. But then this past year, unfortunately, I had a lot lesser responsibilities this year with school, and I will make it a priority every year from now on. So I'll be involved every year now. But we had like 80 people show up this year. Man, it's super cool, and everybody catches fish. It's just a good time. I'm surprised you didn't come, man. I was
Yeah.
thinking that you'd say F it and make the trip this year.
No, like I was telling Dave, it was like right around the time I didn't have PTO yet because I wasn't at the job long enough. So it was like, oh
Oh yeah,
man, I was like, yeah, I better not. I don't want to dip out of this place this early and then just be pissed.
yeah, yeah. That's fair. That's
But
fair. I mean, to
no,
be fair,
yeah,
I missed a year or two. So
I think next year, if you guys are doing it next year, definitely I want to come out to it because it's such a unique experience to go out and
yeah,
who is
it is.
I think Doug and I were talking about it. Doug's like, yeah, like dude, it's crazy. You make 3 casts and you gotta break all the ice out of your rod tips, de-ice your reel, and you can make 3 more casts. And he's like, but the water is, relatively warm for what you're fishing in. He's like, it's like nothing you could ever experience unless you come and experience it here. I'm like, that's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It really doesn't exist anywhere else. And but no, he's right. I mean, that's the problem, man. Is it's not. You got to be very serious to truly fish it. You have to be a monster because
Hmm.
the first year we got lucky and it was like 35 degrees, beautiful.
You're right. Yeah.
Second year, pretty lucky again, like 30s. This year, when the tournament started, it was like 12 degrees. Like fishing in waders in you know way below freezing is not for everybody. Like that is a big ask, and it is not easy. So it's not a tournament for the people who want to come, have some hot cocoa and talk with their buddies. It's you know like don't get me wrong, you can do that too, but it's before and after the tournament. It's definitely
Right.
not during. During is there was a guy who got frostbite this year, bro. Like no joke. Like man, I mean, we tell everybody to be safe, um, but no, somebody got frostbite this year, dude. So it's you if you get into it, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. But
Right.
it is
Yeah.
also it like you said, it's definitely unique. It's an epic tournament. Watching 80 guys fish swim baits was I don't know super cool, and the prizes we had were just insane. Like I don't know for a free tournament like. that's like we just yeah that's like we host it entirely for free. It's really just like a swim bait meetup that has a tournament attached to it. So this year we are going to change some things, just because the first 2 years, the trash cleanup went phenomenally. Like we filled a bunch of dumpsters, which
Yeah.
were super cool. This year we had a blizzard the night before,
Mm,
which obviously covered all the trash, which was super unfortunate. Don't get me wrong, we still collected a lot of trash, but this next year we're actually planning on working with the food bank that's in the city that we do the tournament out of. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to do the trash cleanup still, but just in case that is uh,
washed away.
prohibited by a blizzard
Yeah,
again, we are also going to do a big food drive. So
that'll be cool.
your admission to the tournament this year will not be free, but it will be canned food or food that can be preserved. So it still will be a very, very reasonable entry. And we are going to do a giant food drive. And I think that we're going to do something along the lines of like whoever has the biggest donation gets like an extra ticket into the
Yeah,
drawing or something to incentivize people to really
to really
do
show
their
out.
best when it comes to food drive.
Hmm.
Exactly. So that's going to be our plan. Like I said, you're still never going to find a cheaper, more reasonable tournament to sign up for, especially considering the prizes that are available. But we do have to change gears a little bit just in case,
Hmm.
a Minnesota winter happens again and we're not super lucky with the trash. Because that was a really big blow this year was,
Yeah.
we still had quite a bit of trash get collected, but compared to the past 2 years, it was nothing. Like
Mm.
we had guys filling 2, 3 trash bags a piece the past couple of years. I mean, we filled multiple like giant dumpsters. So,
Yeah.
and then this year was pretty lackluster. So we're gonna do a little bit of both just to ensure we're making an impact.
Heck yeah, dude. That's pretty damn sick, especially for the entry fee. And dude, I guarantee you're gonna have people that pull up with a Suburban that they take all their kids around with, just piled with stuff. 'Cause I'm getting
Dude,
that
that was the
monster bait
best.
development Eden 7. I'm getting it,
eh,
damn it.
Exactly. Well, that was the thing about the first year. Like every single one of the people who brought back the most trash was some like 10-year-old kid who had like 2 trash bags full. One of the kids brought back an exercise ball that he found floating down the river. Like I don't know, bro. Like these kids were just like one of them found like half a bike, like, and was just thrilled. Like like all these and it's so cool too because you know all these kids come back, clean up the environment, and they give you the trash. And we every single one of those kids that brought back a bunch, we gave them like a big fish bullies hat,
Yeah.
a T-shirt, and a couple of little baits or whatever, and they're just over the moon. You know what I mean? Just to have some merch and a couple of baits. So that was super cool to see too. The kids really really make a difference for us.
Right, right. Yeah, dude. I mean, that whole event is super awesome. I'm excited to see what this year holds, and hopefully, with any luck, I'll be able to skedaddle over there for that. I'm pretty excited about it. Even if I don't get to
Yeah.
fish it, or even
It
if I
will.
don't fish it, just get to experience it, I think is super unique, especially the time of year it takes place. You can't do that really anywhere else.
Yeah, that's true. And so that's the thing. If people are listening to this and they want to come out, you better get your hands on a Piz Drift or a Clickbait Work 6.5 before you come, because those two baits have made quite the splash in these years. So Piz Drift or a Work WRK 6.5, those are the winning baits. So they if you come, you better be prepared. You better be loaded up.
Yeah, yeah. Next on our list, 69.5 inches. What is that all about? I don't know. You sent that and I've been thinking about it this whole time. I've been looking down at the list and I'm like, okay, that
Shoot.
definitely can't be a muskie. Maybe he did a kayak tournament that I don't know about.
Yeah, sturgeon, bro. One
Oh,
sturgeon,
okay,
one
yeah,
lake
I did
sturgeon.
I did see sturgeon on the list earlier. Okay, so that makes sense. I remember seeing that
Yeah, I
post.
gotta. This is not a swim bait fish, but a new PB sturgeon for me at 69.5 inches. My old PB was 64 inches, but I caught a 5'9.5" sturgeon. That was Obviously we lengthed it and we girthed it, didn't actually weigh it because
Right.
I don't, yeah, it's like
It's
borderline
sturgeon.
cruel. But
Yeah.
it was, the calculators put it at somewhere between 110 and 115 pounds out of fresh water, bro. Out of a freshwater river in Minnesota. 110 to 115 pounds. Are you kidding me?
That's
Oof.
that's wild. That dude,
Yeah, I was man. Just a giant.
I will say on the side of cruelty, but it's a cool tradition that Michigan does. So we have a lake up here that's part of a river system, and in the wintertime, you buy your tag or you buy your license. So you buy your sturgeon license, and they open it up like the season opens at like 6 a.m. or whenever daybreak opens the tournament or opens the season, and the season only lasts for like 2 hours. It's a spearing, like you can spear sturgeon. So you like if you guys are familiar
Damn.
with pike spearing, you have a decoy and stuff, and sturgeon are the same way, but they use like there's some pretty cool like Vice style like doc series on this event. It's the Black River Black Lake Sturgeon Spearing season, and the shortest season ever was like 12 minutes, and then the longest season was like 4 or 5 days. But anyway, they use like bowling pins as decoys, so you sit it down there and you obviously spin that thing around. And yeah, whenever, I don't know, the numbers kind of fluctuate just depending on what the studies show, but like some years it's a dozen, some years it's like 20 sturgeon, and then as soon as you spear one and you land it, you have to call in to report your fish. They come check it out and stuff, certify it and everything. And once that last fish has been speared, the season's over. They send out a group, probably like some automated call, email, everything, or maybe they blast a big horn. There's some sort of way that when that last fish is speared, everybody knows and everybody's like, "Oh crap, maybe I'll get one next year." Like it's a very very cool event from what I've seen and heard, and it's kind of something that probably could be outdated, but it's like such a cool tradition that we have here that I don't see it going anywhere, and it doesn't really impact the population that much. And it's very unique. And once you mentioned sturgeon, I was like, I got to bring this up because I don't think outside of Michigan that's probably really a thing. So I felt like it was a good time to mention it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Spearing sturgeon, like, oof, God,
Insane.
I don't know. That makes me, that, like, there's part of me that says that kind of sounds kind of sick. Like, that'd be kind of cool. But majority of me just feels like sad, honestly.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. Like, dude, like, so I don't know how much you know about lake sturgeon, but 60 inches is like the mark, right? Like, if
Mhm.
you hit 60, like, that's a giant. And I remember when I caught my old personal best, which was 64 inches. I caught that one like 2 years ago, I think. And we looked it up, and that fish was like 80 years old or something.
Yeah.
Um, and like the 64 incher. I haven't looked up how old the 69 and a half inch was, but when we looked up the 64 incher, it was like 70 or 80 years old, something like that. Like, dude, this fish has been on the earth like 3 times longer than I have,
Yeah.
4 times longer than I have. Like, oh, bro, like spearing that,
Yeah.
man, I don't know, bro. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, no way 80-inch fish taste good, or 80-year-old fish taste good. Second of all, 80 years old, you're gonna take that off. Or man, I
Wipe
don't
it off.
know.
Yeah.
That's yeah, right. Like to some extent, like, I feel like there's got to be some respect put on 80 years, man. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's an interesting thing for sure.
but
I will say.
super interesting. That's got to be the only state that has that.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. And like I said, I think it's just been such a long running thing that that's why I guarantee if you look at like the limits that they've allowed over the past 50 years, it has gone down a bunch and it's like very minimal
Oh, I'm
now.
sure. I'm
Um,
sure it's just running on the fuel of tradition, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, exactly. So where I live, the sturgeon will push up like right around now into the river. And dude, you'll kayak this stretch of the river, and I mean you'll see 50 sturgeon in this 2 hour float. Like you just see these tan masses swim under you, and it's like, whoa, that like
Man,
you like when I was younger, like you obviously know a sturgeon's not gonna jaws you, it's not gonna break your kayak in half and eat you, but it's like, wow, that's a 6 foot long fish that I just saw swim under me. Like that's such an eerie feeling. And like right now, the skamani, the summer run steelhead, and like the suckers will start pushing up, and a lot of guys will fish for those in the river. And you'll get a thump, and you'll sleep, and or like you'll set the hook, and then all of a sudden it's just zzz, and like I fought sturgeon for like an hour and just never even gotten them close. And like you'll see them porpoise, and you can see like they'll porpoise up out of the water, and you can just like they glimmer, like all the guys who accidentally hook them when they're salmon fishing in the fall, and all the guys who hook them when they're fishing for suckers, and like it's just like their back is like a fly shop, like just covered in flies. It's cool, but like it's kind of like, oh man, like this is kind of sad. Like this fish has been getting like
yeah,
the
super
piss beat
sad.
out of it for 80 years. But then again, you think it's like, dude, I'm fishing 12-pound line. Like if this fish wanted to, it'd just turn upstream and it'd snap me off. So not that that makes it any better, but it's like, wow, this is crazy. You know you're never gonna land that fish, and that fish probably has no idea that it's hooked. But you hook that fish and you see this thing porpoise, and all you can think of is like, this is like I I've hooked an absolute massive fish that's older than me, like you said, 4 times, 5 times older than me, that is only 50 pounds lighter than I am. Like that's such a crazy mindset to think of. And that's another really cool thing that you like that I've gotten to experience. I've never landed one or anything, but I've hooked a couple, and it's just like, wow, this thing is taking me for a ride and it doesn't even know it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a unique experience. That's something that if guys haven't chased surgery before, that's a fun ass bite. And also my previous personal best, so this one, the 69 and a half, I did catch on a sturgeon slip like very intentionally. My previous personal best, the 64, I caught on a medium light spinning rod, uh 8 pound test, while I was fishing for walleye.
Wow.
64 inches. If you're gonna guess, Adrian, how long it took me to land it?
Mm. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a little high here. I think I'm gonna go 2 hours and 24 minutes.
Damn. So it was an hour 15.
Okay, I was gonna
You
say
have to
two
keep in
hours seems
mind,
very high.
yeah, you have to keep in mind that I was in a boat and we could chase it,
Jason.
right?
Okay, okay.
So I was in a boat, we could chase it down, but still an hour 15, bro.
That's insane.
Oh my God. Like, oh Jesus! Like, and I've caught them on spinning gear before, but like low 50s or something, like low
Right.
50s. In low 50s, still a very big fish, but the low 50s on spinning gear will get boated in like a half an hour. So I knew this fish was big when it's like, okay, it's been an hour and I haven't seen her even yet. Like,
Hmm.
this is a giant. Yeah. So yeah, no,
Um.
so it's definitely possible to win, but you got to be on a boat. Landing one
Yeah.
from shore sounds like a nightmare. There's
Right.
no way.
Yeah. So the stats from this year's Black Lake Sturgeon spearing season, the 2025 season, which
Yeah.
began on February 1st, ended after just 17 minutes when the sixth fish was harvested, setting a new record for the
No.
shortest
Oh,
season.
6 fish?
Yeah. This year, 797 anglers registered for the event, and the largest fish harvested was 78 pounds and 64 inches long. So,
Oh,
obviously not like a
64 injured.
yeah, obviously not like a mongoloid or anything, but I think it's like an enclosed
Dude, that's a
lake.
giant.
Yeah, I think it's like an enclosed lake. So like that fish has been around for just as long. It just doesn't have it's like the island. It's like the island concept where a fit or like an animal can only grow so far big into its environment. But yeah, dude, like it's such a cool event. I've never made it out there for it, but they make a riot out of it. That's for sure. 17 minutes and they speared 7 of them. That is less fish than I thought, but that's faster than what I thought too. Hmm.
Yeah, damn. So the whole season is 7 fish. That's good though. That's
Yeah,
good.
yep.
But yeah, no, I mean a 64 incher is that's a job, but I'm really glad they limit it that much. So 700 people show up and they got a 1% chance of spearing one. That's funny.
There's guys who have been doing it for like 15 years and haven't even seen a sturgeon swim through their hole. Like, there's some crazy stories on some of those videos I've
No
seen.
way.
Yeah, yeah. Like, dude, if you only
Oh
get to
my
sit out
God.
there for 45 minutes before the season's over, like, I'm not gonna go and sit out there the next day for fun. Like, it's crazy to think about that.
Yeah.
Um, so
Damn,
after,
17 minute season.
yeah, that's wild. I will say there was an inland lake right around my place. It's probably like 150 acres. I don't know how or when, but somebody put
How?
sturgeon in there, and there was at one point in time like three or four sturgeon that would swim in this lake. And it's like not a very big lake. I mean, it's a decent lake. It's not very deep. It's weedy, like not what you would think a sturgeon lives in. Yeah, there was like a residential population of sturgeon in there. They couldn't. I don't think they were ever old enough to hit that like maturity level, but yeah, people would always take pictures of them up on shore at the beach and stuff. Like it was a very, very weird thing. No idea who put them there, how they got there, but that was like the town like legend for the longest time, and I didn't believe it. And then they finally found what they thought was the last one to be washed up on shore. It just, it had just passed away of natural causes, and I was like, wow, there's actually sturgeon in there. That's crazy.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, very, very interesting thing. So after that, oh, the largy bite. This is something you posted about on Universe a couple weeks ago off the paddleboard. Some absolutely crazy stuff. I'll let you kind of
Yeah,
lay this
bro.
out because this was funny. The comments on it were funny. It was just a whole funny whole story here. So let's hear about your spring largemouth fishing you had. And this is also you were in Arizona still at the time, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is all.
Okay.
These are all Arizona fish. So, it was 4 days. The whole bite was basically 4 days. I caught fish on either side of that, like pretty far on either side of that. But the really good bite, when I hit them just right, was literally 4 days, and it was, I think I posted those fish in like May or something.
Mhm.
I caught them like months earlier because Arizona pressure is just like pretty much otherworldly. And there's only like four lakes in the whole damn state, and everybody's swim bait fishes. So if you have a bite, you got to keep it like locked down. And one of our mutual friends and I were actually on the exact same bite. So,
Yeah, I
like
I heard you
literally,
guys. I heard you
I
guys talking about
I
it.
saw him. I saw him. Evidently, he didn't see me, but
Yeah,
we were on the exact same bite. So,
he thought for
which I think
sure
is,
you were gaslighting him into like saying you saw him. He was not convinced at all.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. And he kept saying that I didn't see him. He's pretty easy to spot. Like I don't know. And it's not like I haven't fished. I've fished next to this guy for 2 straight years. Like I don't know. Whatever. There's a possibility. Don't get me. There is a possibility that it could have not been him. What it sounds like is he was on the morning bite and I was on the evening bite.
Mm,
Um. So there is a possibility that I because I only went in the evening. He only went in the morning. So
right.
I thought for sure. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I swear to God I saw him. But whatever. Anyways, so uh, yeah, I show up this one day, and I had the work the WRK 8.0 on, and very, very, very first day, I bagged a 9.2, and the fish ate perfectly. Everything went beautifully. The only problem was I was standing up on my paddleboard.
Crazy wild man.
So,
A giant like you standing up on a
well, dude,
paddleboard fishing swim baits is
yeah. So I
crazy to
have
think
to.
about.
So that's the problem, man, is I have to, right? Because like I'm not gonna glide sitting down. Like I
Yeah,
could,
yeah.
but I see nothing. I see nothing, right? If I want to do that glide justice, I'm gonna stand up. I can make better casts. I can see better. Luckily, this is with my past and fitness, my balance is pretty good, so I can make it happen. And yeah, man, first day was like a 9.2, and I backed it up with a 7 on the paddleboard, both on the work. Next day I go out, not the exact same spot, but damn close. I put an 8.2 and like a mid 6, and then like two other low sixes on the 8.0. The same, and these are all like 4 hour evening sessions. Third day I go out, I caught a 9.3 and then a 7.2.
Ooh.
The 7.2 was not on the work though. It was on some conventional bait.
Mm.
But yeah, I caught a 9.3 and a 7.2 that day. And then I went out the last day and I caught like a 7.8 and a couple of high sixes. So yeah, the WRK 8.0 in trout absolutely went nuts. I had like 42 pounds on it in a week.
Off the board.
For best five. Best five was like because it was like 9, 2, 8, 6, 9, 3, 8, 2, 7, 14 or something like that. I don't know. Just ridiculous. Had like 42 something on it in a week, or maybe the last one was like a 7.8. I think it was 7.8. Um, but yeah, 42 pounds on it, over 42 pounds on it in less than a week. And then that bite, like all the giants were gone. I was catching a bunch of like sixes, but in a six in Arizona really doesn't mean much. So, um, yeah, it is spectacular, man. I mean, what an insane bite. So much fun.
Man, that's
All on the paddleboard, all on glides. I was standing for all of them. The first fish I caught, that 9.2. So the picture actually is pretty cool because some random lady was she watched the whole thing. She watched the eat. She watched the fish jump next to me boat side. She was like screaming the whole time. She's like, "Oh my god, that's the biggest fish I've ever seen! Oh my god!" And then she's like, "Can I take your picture? Can I take your picture?" And I was like, "Could you take a picture on my phone for me?" Like, and yeah, but and I'm like sitting there like vibrating. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just like really excited." She's like, "Don't worry." She's like, "Do you need help?" And I was like, no, she was super nice. She's the reason I have a pretty good picture of that fish. Um, yeah, that was pretty funny. But what a spectacular bite, man! Like just insane.
yeah, absolutely on the paddleboard too. Standing up is what makes me laugh. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
I mean, oh, dude, that's so crazy. Did you net these fish or did you just wrestle them?
oh no, I netted them. There's no way. No, I netted them for sure. I have this like little paddleboard net. It's like this. I think it's by the company's like Bear Claw or something like that. It's like
Mm,
this super big net with like a 10-inch handle. They're perfect for the paddleboard.
mm.
Really, really good nets.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
and they float too. So they like
Oh,
they
that's
like
clutch.
they float. Well, it's perfect because they like when I'm on the paddleboard, like they function as this little live well. It's perfect.
Mm, yeah.
I was really happy with the nets. They're like big enough for 9 pound largemouth. I can just pretend it's a live well while I'm like getting my life sorted after the chaos. It was I was super happy with them. But no, yeah, I netted them. It was man, I think about that bite all the time. That's something I'm definitely gonna miss.
Dude, this next one, um, I talked to the gentleman you were fishing with about this, and I was blown away. But uh, the smallmouth fishing that you were on. So, for anybody who doesn't know, there is a Swimbait the Midwest Facebook page. If you guys are in the Midwest, join it. There's a tournament there. They do the monthly tournament thing, like a lot of pages do. And so when you posted those largemouth fish, Jake was like, "These are not Midwest fish, are they?" Like, and you were like, "No, no, whatever, whatever." That's what I was talking about earlier. That I thought those comments were freaking hilarious. So, uh, you come back up home and you're fishing, or you enter the tournament. And fun fact, Alec and I fished a tournament many, many, many moons ago. Like I think I was, man, I still may have been in high school, like 2018. Do you know what tournament I'm talking about? When this it was the Swim Bait Freaks tournament many moons ago.
Oh God, that was a long time
Many
ago, bro.
moons
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was actually a length tournament because I had a working class zero travel, or I had a working class zero hardboard, and I was so pissed because the one fish didn't count because it was a little too whatever, it wasn't lined up right. So I drove down to Cabela's 2.5 hours away and bought myself one of those green hog trough boards so I could get accurate
Oh yeah.
measurements on these fish. But yeah, that was. That was my first ever experience with Alec. I didn't even really know who you were at the time, and I'm sure it was vice versa because it was freaking so long ago. And you beat me by like maybe an inch and a half, and I was like, oh my gosh, I caught a hinkle fish that was like 21 and a half inches. I caught some fish on the Citizen Six that were all like, typical Midwest, like 19 and a half inch fish. At that point in time, I couldn't
Yeah.
catch one over 20 inches, but I was like, damn. And I think you were like catching all your fish like deep cranking or something you were telling me, and I was like, man, yeah, that was crazy. I remember that. I remember that just because it was such a vivid thought. Because I remember fishing so hard for like the month. Like I remember meeting my girlfriend for the first time, and she's like, "Why do you have blue Sharpie like all over your hands?" Because I was writing the code word on my hand for all the pictures and stuff. Good times. But anyway, so back to the original story. Get off on a tangent there. The Swim Bait the Midwest guys, they do a monthly or like a bi-weekly. They do a tournament series if you guys aren't familiar with the online tournaments. You weigh in. This one was four fish, I think.
Yeah, the Swim Bait Midwest one was four. Yep.
Yeah. So it was four fish, biggest combined weight, and you won with like a lot of weight, right?
Well, yeah, it was like I think it was like 21 something of smallmouth. So I had four fish and I think they were like 21. It was like 21.4, 21.6, something like that for
Yeah.
four smallies.
Mm.
It was a 5'9", 5'7", 5'3", 5'1", I believe.
Yeah, I was in that tournament. I saw you cull a fish or maybe submit like your second fish in the comments, and I was like, I'm not even gonna bring my travel. I'm not even gonna bring my scale or my board. I'm not gonna catch four fish of this caliber unless I go to a certain spot. I'm like, I am not going up there. So I was like, oh yeah, good job, Alec. Another one in the bag. But dude, you guys like seeing your comments and like other guys' comments. I was just like, wow, these guys are freaking on them, like on them, mega on them, like as on them as you could be. And I was like, this is crazy. You guys were like you would think that maybe like two smallmouth, two largemouth, or some mixed bag, but no, just four meat bags of smallmouth. I was like, that's insane. Did you like? I mean, dude, to submit four over five, like you guys had to have been culling 4 pounders or like not even scaling four pounders at a point in time, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, so the guy, the other guy who I think you're referring to is Doug, right?
Yeah,
I would
I
assume.
wasn't gonna. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Because no, Doug. I mean, the funny part is like, dude, Doug and I fish together a lot, and and it's not just the Swim Bait Midwest tournament. We're in Piz tournaments together. We're in trashy tournaments together. Well, I fish. We're in. He's not in the Pats page, I don't think, but I'm in the Pats page
oh yeah,
tournaments. Like,
you always
I'm in.
pull in,
I'm in
right?
like. I'm in every page. I'm in
Alex
every single
Alex is the
page.
the weigh-in video that takes 25 minutes because he's got to say all the damn code words. He's got to remember them all.
Yeah. So I'm in like every page and I fish every tournament and I fish them hard. Like and but Doug is in majority of them with me. And what I don't know if people know that, but like, Doug and I are always first and second. Like I'm in first, he's in second, or he's in first, I'm in second. And do we fish together? Like half those fish we catch, we caught them together. Like
Yeah,
we're
we were
fishing,
talking about
yeah,
it.
we're fishing against each other. Yeah, we're fishing against each other, you know what I mean? And we're competitive, but like, we're in the same boat half the time. Like, bro, there is outside of like Doug caught his 6'6" personal best. That I referenced that fish earlier, like deep crank in the TK,
Yeah,
that 6'6". Doug caught that fish in a tournament and I netted it. And I promise you, there is not a person on this earth outside of Doug that was more excited for him than me, bro.
right.
Like that fish pretty much destroyed my chances of winning that tournament because I was in like three other tournaments. But bro, that dude has worked like he's just like me, right? We fish super hard. We fish swim baits 99% of the time. He worked so hard for that fish, dude. Like there are very, very few people that deserve that fish more than Doug. Doug grinds super hard. There's not a lot of guys that you can like Doug and I are both in that same mentality. Like if we're gonna fish, we're gonna go sunrise to sunset. We're gonna get
Mhm.
4 hours of sleep. We're gonna do what it need do it needs to be done to catch giants. And like, there's not a lot of guys like that, man. Like, you can't really find another dude who takes it that seriously. So Doug and I fish very, very well together. He was super deserving of that fish, and like, dude, I was so pumped for him. He smoked me. And when I say smoked, he beat me by like 4 ounces, I think, in that tournament. But that was 2 years ago. He beat me by 4 ounces last year, and then this year I beat him by 4 ounces or whatever. You know what I mean? Next year, one of us will beat the other one by 4 ounces.
Right.
Um, no, it's cool. I mean, it's fun, and realistically, the prize difference between first and second doesn't really matter anyways. So, um, yeah, it's a that's a fun time. I love fishing those tournaments, and I love fishing them with Doug too, because like, dude's a hammer, and also not a lot of people willing to grind like I am, and he's willing to grind sometimes even more than my ass. So,
Yeah.
um, dude's an animal.
We him and I were talking and he was telling me some stuff and I was just like, dude, I could not even imagine. And he's like, oh yeah, but I caught some fish, so it was worth it. I'm like, good for you, man. Good for you. And then I saw the fish and I was like, okay, yeah, like that makes a lot more sense. I'm like, dude, there's no way he's catching like 2 or 3 pounders and he's like, oh man, this is such a good time. And then we started talking a little more. I'm like, okay,
No,
okay, this
yeah,
is this is this is full circle here. I know what's going on now. But yeah, you guys
yeah, and
caught some good ones to say the minimal the minimal statement there.
yeah, and you were kind of referencing that earlier, like calling fours, bro. If we think it's a four, it's not touching the scale. Like,
Mhm.
that's gonna break some guys' hearts, but like, you know, you come to Minnesota, man. And Minnesota for smallies is just a completely different beast. Like, there's so many bodies of water in Minnesota where a four is a dink. Like, it's just, it's the same thing as like Texas for largemouth,
Yeah,
right? Like, not exactly. Like, I'd argue there's some bodies of water that are more like Texas for smallmouth, like, that which one I'm talking about. But
yeah, yeah.
uh but Minnesota's like, eh, you know, it's a similar idea, right? Like,
Mhm.
no, like, DD, somebody catches a 10 pounder in Texas in 2025, nobody cares. Like, literally nobody cares. A DD in Texas, congratulations, you caught a DD. A DD in Texas is a teener, and it would take a teener in Texas to be recognized as a DD pretty much anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing with Minnesota. Like, people freak out about a 4 pound smallmouth in some states. Even a 5 pounder. I mean, a 5 pound smallmouth in Minnesota, still a good fish. Nobody really cares. Like, it sounds bad, but like, a 5 pound smallie in Minnesota isn't of really that big of a deal, unfortunately. Uh, 6 pounder is kind of the mark in Minnesota where you start getting where it's like, that's really fucking big.
Yeah.
But a 5 pounder is like, especially a 4 pounder. Like, 4 pounders are arguably cookie cutter, man.
Hmm. Dude, it's starting to be up here that like dude, 6 pounders are like there's guys who don't even scale sixes now that are like only scaling 7 and 8.
Oh my God,
Like we'll
dude.
talk about that after the
Yeah,
fact, but yeah, just some
yeah,
absolute studs, like guys catching multiple like 721s in a weekend span of small like 7 pound 21 out or 7 pounds 21, whatever it is, like dude, just some absolute footballs and the water's like 46 degrees still. Like those fish haven't even thought about trying to spawn yet or doing anything except for indulging on whatever the hell they want. Like I'll send you some pictures, but
yeah.
absolutely insane fishery. Um, so yeah, you guys had a bang up spring with those fish, and then kind of transitioning to the this year's muskie. So are you guys allowed to musky fish prior to season, or is that like prohibited? I'm assuming.
No, so muskie season is the second weekend in June. That is if you target them before opener, you are screwed.
Mm,
You are only allowed to fish them after opener, and opener is the second weekend in June.
Mm.
So muskie season for me was very, very, very short, unfortunately. But yeah, it's luckily I bagged like six, I think, seven, something like that, in a
Just
week.
casual.
Yeah, and the biggest one, I caught a couple of nice ones, but biggest one was a 48 and a quarter on that pounder. So that was a magical eat as well. So very, very excited about that, man.
Dude, on the pounder. Tell us about the pounder. Like, describe this bait for people who are not familiar.
Yeah, so it's the KGB pounder. It is a 14-inch, 16-ounce shad glide. So it's basically um I mean, it's fun. It's pretty much the king, but imagine if the king was like 50% bigger. For people who know what a KGB king is, it's basically a king that's like 50% bigger. So, and it honestly, bro, like the way this thing it fishes so stupid well. Granted, you know, like I said, Brennan at KGB is the one who hooked me up with it, and Brennan is pretty much like he's like Kevin's obviously still in charge, but like day to day stuff, Brennan's doing pretty much everything.
Right,
So
yeah.
Brennan is like KGB is definitely on Brennan's shoulders. Um, and you know, obviously it's on Kevin's too, but you know what I mean? Like uh and so Brennan's gotten very, very good at tuning baits and stuff, man. And the pounder he sent me is just it's all custom Brennan tuned, all
Mm.
custom Brennan painted. It's just a beautiful bait, and it fishes phenomenally. Like it fishes. I like if you've ever fished a king. Have you fished a king?
No, I think I've only seen them. I've never gotten one in the water, I don't think.
So a king fishes like a bait a third of its size. Like a king chops like you would not believe. I mean,
Mm.
it really just is a big shad, and the pounder fishes very, very similarly to the king. It's not quite as choppy, but it's damn close. I mean, you can shoot it out and you can chop it pretty well. And for a, you know, a bait that literally weighs a pound, um, pretty cool. But yeah, so I that got that 48 and a quarter on it, and honestly, like, have you musky fished in the spring much, Adrian?
No, no, only the fall is the only time I've ever gone.
So muskies in the spring, they do this thing where they will like when the water's cold, they'll go up onto like sand and rock,
Hmm.
and they'll sit like a foot or two underneath the surface, and they'll just warm themselves. They'll just sit there, they'll get warm, and they will never, ever, ever eat anything. Like you can throw your entire tackle box in front of them, they don't care. Um, it's very frustrating. And I spent my childhood throwing baits at those fish. Like, dude, oh God, those fish were the worst because it's like they're right there. You can see them. Hell, you could probably go up and poke them and they would like barely move. But I spent my childhood throwing baits at those fish and they would just never eat. And now that I'm, you know, now that I would like to think I know what I'm doing, I have gotten a couple of those fish to go. But out of my, you know, I'm over like I think I said this earlier, but I'm over 250 peers to my name, and of those, less than 10 of them for sure have been those fish, have
Right.
been those like sunning themselves spring fish, and I've probably cast at I kid you not thousands of them. Like I'm not kidding, thousands. And less than 10 of them have I actually caught. So there's and the bait that I've done the best on for those sunning fish up shallow in the spring is called a McGlide. It's like a one-piece musky glide. And they'll just react to it. Like when they don't react to anything else, they'll just react to that thing. Um, and so usually what I'll do is in the spring, if I see one of those, I'll toss that bait on them a couple of times. They won't eat it, and I will move on to doing whatever the hell I was doing before that.
Mm.
And this year I was like, you know, I tossed that bait on them first and they didn't eat. And I was like, yeah, classic. Okay. And then I was like, you know what? Like, what are the odds I put the pounder next to this thing and she doesn't go? Like, she's got to follow it, right? Like
Right.
she's got to do something to it.
Engage with it
Um,
somehow.
yeah, engage with it. I just want to see her move on it. Like, what is she gonna do when I throw this like the biggest glide bait she's ever seen, without a doubt, right next to her? I want to see what she does, right? So I cast, I like lead her a little bit. I cast her like probably 15, 20 feet past the fish, right? It hits the water and she like flies up to it, just like full speed nosing it. And I'm like panicking because I was like, what the hell? Like, I didn't plan this far ahead. Like, what do you mean? So she's just like nose. And when I say nosing it, she's probably a foot away from the bait, right? And this thing suspends perfectly. Like, Brennan tuned it perfectly.
Yeah.
I assist corded it and to make sure that it suspends perfectly. So it's just sitting there. She's just staring at it. And I was like, well, here we go. Gave it one twitch and she just ate it.
Mm.
Just like, dude, and so I set the hook. I'm like losing my mind. Net the fish. Immediately text Brandon like, bro, oh my god, like, oh my god. I don't know, just the craziest eat, man. I watched the whole thing. Like, sight fished a 4 footer on a bait that weighs a pound. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't care who you are. Ooh, magical. And of course, I see like 10 other fish casting or 10 other fish uh doing that same thing the rest of the day. They don't even look at the pounder either. But that one fish cared, man. That one fish really did not like that bait. So uh yeah, wow. Perfect eat. Just pumped.
Yeah, that is insane. That dude, were you nervous with how big of a bait it was? Like she was gonna try to like tail walk or something and just spit this thing back at you and flip you off on the way by?
Oh, easily, yeah. But the benefit is like, once again, I'm throwing this thing on the Merc, right?
Mhm.
On my rod. So I have and the pounder has three trebles on it. Okay, so it's a 14-inch bait, but it's got three hook hangers. Um, and so what I did was I assist corded three 2-aught ST36 on it. And so if they eat it, they're getting a hook. And if
Mhm.
they get a hook, they're gonna get set into.
Yeah.
And then the Merc just handled it from there, man. Like, those 2-aught 1X, she's getting hooks. And when I landed her, she had two trebles in her.
Mm.
So and those two trebles were, one of them was buried, one of them was like buried enough, you
Mhm.
know. So yeah, I mean, you have the right rod, you can totally get away with it. But that's the thing. That bait is the perfect example of what the Merc was
Right.
designed for. A big ass bait. It's got three hook hangers, so you can't even run that big of a hook on it because they'll tangle and get
Mhm.
all messed up. So I was running three, and obviously the assist cord makes a big difference as well. But three assist corded 1X 2-aught hooks landed a over a 4 footer on a pound bait. Like, perfect example. That is exactly what that whole setup was meant to do. So very, very excited about that.
Man, I saw your post and then I saw the picture and stuff and reading through it, I was like, that's that is insanity. That especially like how you said you've casted it so many, and this was, in the 1%, half percentile that actually ate the bait, like with the bait that you threw at it too, is the fact that you threw something at it, it didn't react, and you tied that thing on, the pounder casted at it, and it just had a full meltdown is super cool. That's gets
Dude, yeah, and
insane to think
and
about.
this is no, I was, dude, I netted that fish and I was like stunned, like honestly stunned. And I thought, in my naivety, I was like, bro, I'm gonna throw this pounder at five more fish today and they're all gonna freak out.
Right.
No, that's of course that's never how it works. I was like, oh my God. But what I will say about that fish was, what I thought was interesting that I noticed was that, I don't know if remember the color of that pounder that I have, but it's like this, it's got like, it's like a bloody walleye or bloody carp color. Like, it's brown with some like a bunch of red on it,
Yeah. Yep.
right? Um, what I did notice about that fish was that it was very, very, very close to a large group of spawning carp.
Mm.
Um, and so that's what I think was going on. I think that that fish wasn't going to react to anything except for if one of those spawning carp made a wrong turn or something. Because he was really close to him. Like that fish was in 5 feet of water, and on the bank next to him in the bulrushes was a group of spawning carp. So I think that's what it was. In the moment, I did not, that's not, you know, I didn't look at the pounder, think it was a spawn. I wish I could credit that, but no. Um, but in hindsight, after I netted that fish, after I thought about it, I really do think that that spawning carp thing was because none of the other fish that I cast at the rest of the day
Harry.
reacted to the pounder, and none of
Yeah.
them were right next to a bunch of spawning carp either. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Who
that's
knows, man?
interesting. It's like perfect place, perfect time type thing. Perfect bait, perfect
For sure.
representation of what that fish could have been doing or like was around enough to take interest in it.
Yeah, for sure. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Man, uh I mean we just talked about all this stuff within an episode, but there's like stuff like we talked about this stuff and we glazed over something or like we skimmed over some things and kind of spent some time on other things. But dude, like just the fact that this was all over the course of a year is mind blowing to think. Like there's guys who in the course of a year won't catch a smallmouth over 4 pounds, and we just kind of shitted on not necessarily that, but like yeah, those fish aren't necessarily special where we come from, and like I don't know, just to think that you get to experience like some pretty top notch fishing in a handful of states and like have these experiences with them is absolutely insane. And circle back all in the course of a year is wild.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just, you know, school has kind of taken me all over the place, unfortunately, but obviously it's gotten me into some pretty unique experiences, and this now moving to Ohio is just another thing where I don't know what the hell bites I'm gonna find, but I promise you I'm gonna find some.
Yeah.
Every spare moment I have is on the water, and 99% of the time it's with a swim bait in my hand. So, uh, I don't know, man. Like, obviously I think I'm pretty good at fishing at this point, but to be honest with you, dude, like it all just boils down to time on the water. Like I spend more time on the water than you know almost everybody I know.
Hmm.
And with that just comes eventually I stumble into some stuff. Don't get me wrong, I think I'm pretty good at figuring them out. Sometimes, like I think my pattern recognition is what makes me a better than average fisherman. But you know, time on the water and just fishing as much as you possibly can. No matter who you are, you're gonna stumble into greatness sometimes, man. Like you're gonna stumble into some pretty epic bites. Just time on the water and fishing as hard as you can.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I do best is just grind it out. Like that's the number one thing, just grinding.
Hmm. Yeah, dude. And it's like you said, you figure this stuff out. You figured out the trout stocking stuff, and yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, like you figured this stuff out and you just worked on it. We've worked through it. Like you worked through those largemouth for 4 days. You said it was over the course of a little bit longer than that, but like those 4 days, you probably went to bed on the third or like the second or third night, and you're like, there is no way I'm gonna get up tomorrow and I'm gonna catch the fish like I did today. And yeah, you did. And then that fourth day, maybe it starts to peter out on the fifth day. You're like, oh well, I'm gonna stick it out for 3 more days just to like it's like somebody might experience that one day and then that first day catch that nine and just be like, oh yeah, I'm content for a while. I'm not going to go back out and fish. Like I think that there's probably a lot of guys like that. Dude, if I caught a nine, I'd probably be like, oh man, I might not go fish tomorrow. It's just kind of how it is. It's funny to think about it like that. I think Alec I think he just dropped the Zoom call for some reason. I don't know if it like timed out or what. Oh, Alec is back. Alec is back. I don't know if it like timed out or if maybe he got like a phone call or something, but he is back, so that is good. I was scared I was gonna have to wrap this episode up by myself, which wouldn't have been a problem, but yeah, dude, I was it like dropped and then like my face popped up on the full screen. I'm like, oh no, like the call dropped or something. And got a phone call or whatnot. But dude, that's like perfect timing.
Yeah,
Wrap it
I
up
don't
here.
know. That
Yeah.
was super weird. I could hear you the whole time, and then all of a sudden, for a couple seconds, I couldn't, and then I was back. I didn't touch anything, so I have no idea what happened.
No, no, you're good, dude. But yeah, like just like you said, spending time on the water and like it also seems like you're never really content. Like not in a bad way, but in the way of like, oh, I'm gonna go back there and I'm gonna catch a bigger one or I'm gonna catch a bigger brown or I'm gonna catch two more muskie or whatever else it may be. Like it seems like you're like, okay, I'm gonna outdo myself the next time type guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's like, not to get too deep or anything, but a giant personality flaw of
Oh,
mine
yeah,
is
yeah.
the never satisfied mentality. Because I think everything I do, I don't know, man. I'm like the never satisfied thing. Like anything that I've ever dabbled in, like a lot of the facets of my life, like I just I go for it 110%, and I will not stop until I've like I will. But that's it. Like even muskies, man. Like I caught a 53 incher. It doesn't get bigger than that. Like it does, but dude, those fish bigger than that are absolute unicorns. And still, there is not a thing on this earth I would rather do than chase muskies. Like,
Mm,
oof, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like with that largemouth bite, it was just, if I caught a 9.2 today, what the hell am I going to catch tomorrow?
hmm.
Then I went out and I caught an 8, and then I was like, oh my God, like this is a bite. So I freaking call into work. I'm like, hey, I got to do something, like whatever. And then I go catch another 9, and then I'm like, okay, well, this bite's not going to die. Can't go to work tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just. It is what, and then eventually the bite tapers, and I'm catching a bunch of like fives and sixes, and the bigs are gone, and it is what it is. But um, yeah, it's just I don't know, just time on the water and being able to like once you find a bite, just abuse it. Like
Hmm.
do what you can to milk every last drop out of that bite because it will die, and it will die sooner than you think.
Unfortunately.
Every time, man.
Oh, dude. Well, I don't even know how long we've been recording for. Like almost maybe 3 hours or longer than 3 hours. What where
Oh,
can
is
the
it? It's 9:49. Oh,
yeah.
bro, my watch is still Minnesota time. So I was like, oh, it's only been an hour and a half. That's not too bad. No, it's been almost 3 hours. Okay.
Ugh. Where can the people follow you if they don't already? If they haven't followed you in the last four episodes, where can they follow you on the fifth episode?
Just Instagram, really. Like that's Instagram's my only, like you'll see all my fish there if that's what if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like Instagram is really the only thing. Pretty much my Instagram is just a fish log, honestly. So um yeah. Just
pretty
my
much.
Instagram. It's just at my name at Alec Wieker. That's the
Perfect.
whole deal.
Pretty much
Yes,
Alec
sir.
uses his Instagram for a Scales and Tails timeline. So every time we get on the podcast, we know what the chronological
Yeah,
order is to talk about.
that's true. That's true. Every time, bro.
Heck yeah, man. Well, dude, since you've recently relocated, I'm super hyped. We were talking before the show. Hopefully, we can get together and fish some not too far apart. Can definitely make some stuff happen. And
Oh, definitely.
I'm excited, dude. You got where you got some big fish energy. So well, I'll definitely come fish with you. Don't worry. You won't have to beg me. We'll say that.
No, and dude, you have some very cool bites right next to you. I have some very cool bites next to me, and we have some very cool bites right in the middle. So
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. We'll make something happen, and I'm gonna have a very big water capable boat here very soon. So
Very nice. Perfect. That works out
yeah,
perfect,
we'll
man.
we'll get after it.
Heck yeah,
We'll
man.
get after it.
Well, Alec, I appreciate you coming on, man, as always. As always, guys, I want to thank you for listening, especially if you made it this far. It was a big old yap fest, but I think that's what you guys like, so we're obviously going to continue to do that. Episode 200 is coming very, very soon. Super excited and super hyped up about that. But as always, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys.